back to me with information on that. But anyway, so that is not needs-based. That is available to everyone who incurs expenses related to being displaced by an evacuation like this. What is needs-based would be some of the things that might replace some of your damaged things. A car, he mentioned, was one thing that can be repaired or replaced, and some of the other private property that you might have that has been injured or damaged, rather, by this flooding. That is based on your income and on your need. Then beyond that, the question becomes, well, what do you do when you have, can you get a low interest loan, or can you get a grant of some sort? And he said it's really kind of a patchwork quilt that people put together, and every individual seems to come up with a different plan to make it through something like this. You use some of that original individual assistance to get back on your feet somewhat, and then you work together your plan that would maybe be a low-interest loan. It might be trying to qualify for some sort of a grant from local agencies such as those that I told you about that have been raising money for people who have been impacted by this flooding. It might be relying on a church or on relatives or something like that, but kind of a combination of things. I put out a plea earlier today, this afternoon, back before we had what seemed like an onslaught of bad weather that moved through here, and kind of bad things all going on at once. And I said, if there are any bankers out there who might want to call in and tell me just a little bit of what the procedure would be, because I'm sure there are many, probably thousands of people in this exact position. And this position that I'm relating to you is a hypothetical one, but I think thousands of people are in this spot where they have a mortgage on their home, that they look at that home and it's now engulfed in water. There's water up to the rafters. There's a possibility that house will just be uninhabitable after this, after it's been underwater for a week or 2 weeks or more than that perhaps. So you'll have a mortgage on a home that has no value, that there's really no home there. So then what do? You go to and get a low interest loan to rebuild a house perhaps, and then you're sitting with two loans, if you can even have two loans, because you have no collateral on that first loan. So, it's that type of position that I'm hopeful to hear that people from FEMA or somebody else can help people kind of walk through and understand what sort of financial issues they're facing in this sort of a situation. And, they are many, and they are varied from person to person to a great degree. Well, those are some of the details on what's going on with FEMA and with other efforts to perhaps raise some money for people in the region who have been impacted by the river. We're going to be back in just a moment as we continue with our Flood Fight 2011 coverage around the clock here on KX News.
From KX News in high definition, this is a special report on Flood Fight 2011.
The worst flooding in the history of the city of Minot is in full swing. It is engulfing the city with an estimated 4,000 or more homes currently in the water, hundreds, maybe 1,000 or more that are covered almost to the roof because of the record high level of the Souris Mouse River. The river has hit its crest, or is expected to tonight. We're expecting maybe just a few more inches of level to be added to this, according to the National Weather Service, and then it will stay high for the next couple of weeks, at least 1 week above record levels. And the National Weather Service and the Corps of Engineers is predicting that the high levels will continue for quite some time. The river ran up quickly, and then overnight it kind of slowed down, and now we've seen it level off. It has stayed at this level right now at 1561.68 for the last few hours since about 6 o'clock or so. So 6, 7, and 8 o'clock readings have been at that 1561.68. As it was spreading out so much today, slowly, Gayla Ness was out. We'll roll some of that video for you here. This is a video from ground level. We're going to take you up high in a Black Hawk helicopter also in just a moment. But first, we just wanted to have a little tour around the area down at ground level. And you see some of the shots that we had today looking down 3rd Street, I believe. Well, no, what is that? That's not 3rd Street. Well, it's looking in the downtown area anyway, down to the north there, toward the river that is rushing by. And look at the way this river has spread out from north to south on this east-west look at the river. It's just amazing how much the river has spread. There is the church, that Spiritual Life Church, I believe it's called, that has been dealing with the river for so long. another view that shows you the width of the river at Broadway Bridge. We're standing on Broadway Bridge right here, taking these shots. And, you know, there's one of the bridges that goes all the way across both the railroad tracks and the river. You know, there should be railroad tracks under there. And they, of course, are just hidden from view by the water rushing through. And the water again rushing in that area. You normally could drive through there under normal circumstances. You hear the beep of those trucks that are constantly out there. There's the bridge that is being worked on right now, that over the day today kept collecting debris. On the left side there was a big hunk of something up against it right there. And then work was going on the secondary level levees as well. And you see some of the debris that is up against that bridge. Now a car that was abandoned out there in the parking lot area with the water swirling around it. And Galen always likes to get a nice pretty shot of the sun, and we look down, and again, it's just the width of that river is just amazing looking at the downtown area there. Now looking back on the walkway, this is where the dike runs underneath the bridge right there. And we see some of the truck traffic, as that's all that's allowed right now on Broadway between Burdick and University. And they keep collecting the clay, loading it into trucks, and sending it on down the line, although here they're just building up the levee system right here with an ad for the State Fair on the reader board there, which we'll see what happens with that. They're hoping to be able to put on a state fair as expected. Some of these guys are putting in, 18 and 20-hour days driving this heavy equipment, operating it, trying to work as much as possible to get this job done, dealing with water on the road as they haul their necessary equipment in and out and bring in the dirt and go back empty. Not sure the location of this. Oh, okay, this is the downtown area. Look at the water up on the top of that. That's just off the 3rd Street Viaduct right there. Looking out over the neighborhood, and just the top of that building is left showing, and not much of the window showing on that house. You can see, I'm sorry I didn't hear Galen narrate this, so I'm not sure what that is. Is that a couch or something that's floating by? It's I guess not. It's a wooden table of some sort that's being swept downstream. And some of the debris collecting on the side of the house, the downstream side of that house, with water almost up to the rafters. Galen said when he shot this a few days ago, it was at 0. There was no water on this measuring stick, and so it's up, 6 feet from then, assuming that those are accurate measurements of a foot. Looking off into the distance there at the, just the devastation for these people who have, put everything into their homes over the years and made them into their own special places. The Amtrak depot there, hard to tell if they've had any trouble with their dike or not from this angle. The U.S. flag up there on top of the Broadway Bridge. Kind of a nice symbol at the top there. Look at that one, 4th Street Northwest, with water just rushing up to almost the top of the street sign. There's the Keating's location that we shot from, shooting back this direction early on during this situation. Some chairs from somebody's patio being taken downstream. And that's the type of thing that ends up stuck against the bridge downstream just a little ways there. And that's the railroad area, where the Amtrak trains would normally come in. And some of the officials out checking some of the dikes and that sort of thing to make sure things are working as expected. After we had this little tour down at ground level, we're going to take you up into the air to show you what's going on. And that's the Amtrak depot, of course, the railroad depot in town. Looks like these folks were going to go inside maybe and try to understand what's going on in there. They come ashore there at the dike. And then go in to check things out and see how things are looking there. An interesting process there. Some more shots coming to us here from the Broadway Bridge, I believe, as we look down on the river spreading out below. Slowly, but pretty quickly, actually, in the end. It went slowly, and then finally when it got here, it really shot upwards. Here we are at the Coca-Cola building at 9th Street Southeast. Eastwood Park there, the entry to Eastwood Park, near that Coke building as well. 5th Avenue and 9th Street Southeast. Here's the Sunnyside School dike, and we hope it's doing its job well. The Big Boys Toys building there on Burdick Expressway at the Coke plant at the Eastwood Estate, or Eastwood Park entry. And check out the water level against those Coke machines right up to the money changer. Some of the materials that become just little boats that float downstream here. And here's some more of the Sunnyside School area being protected by that large dike. Corbett Field here, and check, you know, it's not a very good day for sliding into second base at Corbett Field. And the water on the outside walls there, those walls are a good 8 feet tall, 7 or 8 feet tall certainly, and so that's a lot of water located there. Another shot of Corbett to show you those walls with the water on top of them. Man, that is a lot of water on that outfield. Eastern Avenue looking off to the east there. And a lot of folks were out today trying to get photos of their house and maybe take some video of their houses. And Galen was enjoying to see what the water was doing from a artistic standpoint with the sun shining off of it there. Now we're into the 600 block of 13th Street Southeast. And water on these houses as well on the main levels. About halfway up the main floor of that house. And about the same thing here on this split level, halfway up or so, that first level. Saw a little baby duck or something there on Eastern Avenue. And looking down north on 14th Street Southeast, you know, these are the areas where it's right at the edge of the flood zone. It's kind of the areas where we're able to get to sometimes on our own. There's the street sign again that shows you how far up the water is in some areas. And again, a house that has all kinds of water on it. We're near Corbett Field there, and then finally the ball, the Mickey Mouse ball that floats away. So that's kind of what it looked like down at ground level. Up in the air, Sean Sitmo was up in the Black Hawk helicopter today, and he put together a little bit of a travelogue for us. Oh, I thought this piece of video was over. Sorry about that. I guess it's still continuing just a little bit. I had faulty recollection there. A pretty street there without all the water. Now at 8th Avenue and 15th Street Southeast. And then into the Parkview Mobile Home Park. And some more shots of Parkview there for you as we get kind of close to the river itself. And we're coming up on the shot that is pretty amazing here at the 8th Avenue Bridge. Check the water there running. It seems like it's running toward the river, I think, on 8th Avenue, looking east toward that bridge and rushing in a big hurry. You can see the bridge now. Look at the left side of that bridge. Okay, the bridge is right in the middle of your screen. And look at all that is piled up alongside that bridge, including a complete hot tub that's sitting there floating. At least as of this morning it was, anyway. And Galen said he took this shot to prove the dandelions can live through anything, even a flood. And the final shot, this was the final shot, yeah, the duck trying to swim upstream here. You see the Holiday Inn flags in the background there as the duck finally wins the battle against the current in this case. Now we'll go up high in the air with Sean Sitman taking us on a aerial tour. First we'll check out the live camera. They've moved back a bit with the backhoe there, and they're kind of rescuing the driver or the operator with the airboat. See that right in front there on the left side of your screen? Maybe changing operators or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what they're doing. They have a few people now who are going to ride maybe on the backhoe back over to the bridge. And, you know, there's some definite activity going on here to see what can be done about this bridge. We've described it for you several times about the issue of the erosion of the secondary levee in the background. And then beyond the levee, all those homes back there are getting protection from this levee. And also Broadway itself is getting protection because this levee is successful so far, which we all, of course, hope continues that way. So a couple of people are going for a ride here on this backhoe now to go back out to the bridge and see what they can learn out there and decide what to do next. Maybe it's some engineers going out to make an assessment of that area. Interesting how the water, when it comes up to the bridge, it creates that little kind of whirlpool effect in the water. You can see it with the debris there up against on the left side of your screen, the debris kind of spinning around in a circle. And then on the other side, it traps the stuff that gets through and keeps it, you know, near the bridge, and then roils up the water quite a bit. And it's that churning of the water that can cause trouble in the way of erosion. The folks at Walmart had asked us to let you know that they are well supplied with water right now if you should need that. We also had that giveaway of a free case of water to families with kids or elderly people. That's at the Kmart parking lot, so you're welcome to check that out.
What you're talking about?
Yes.
They're closing at 9 because they're running out.
Oh, and they're running out, so they're closing in the next few minutes, but they'll have more
shipment
tomorrow.
Plus, they'll be having some coming to North Hill tomorrow.
And plus, they're going to bring some cases of water to North Hill tomorrow as well. So, what's the name of the group again? I'm sorry, I forgot. It's at the bottom there.
Convoy of Hope.
The Convoy of Hope is what it's called, okay? And we appreciate efforts like those by people to try to alleviate some of the pain for people who are losing their homes kind of in a slow motion disaster. It's a scope of which is maybe unparalleled, certainly locally and maybe across the state. I don't know how it compares to the 1987 Grand Forks flood, probably about the same, I guess, maybe. I honestly don't know, but the depth of this water on so many houses out there. You know, I'm no structural engineer. I have no idea, but it seems to me that with water halfway up your main floor or maybe up to the ceiling on your main floor for a week or 10 days or 2 weeks, you just can't do very good things to the building. Now, of course, we know that the home is made up of all the other intangible things, the people and the relationships and the fun times that you have together. So we hope that you can continue that wherever it is you're calling home right now if you've been displaced. And we know that the spirit of North Dakotans will continue to persevere through this sort of a tragedy and this kind of an onslaught of Mother Nature. Now I think we can go on and take a look at our video from the air. If you guys see anything that's really interesting there, let me know and we'll come back to that picture. This is not the video from Sean, but it's the video from Mike Elm. That was Arrowhead. He said that this was somewhat of a bumpy ride, but nevertheless, look at that in that neighborhood near Arrowhead with lots and lots of water on lots of houses out there. It's you know, it's the level of the water that's almost so shocking here. It's bad enough to have water get up to your house and fill your basement and that sort of thing, but when you have to figure that the water is covering up the entire first floor of your home, like if you were standing in your kitchen, you'd have water up past your shoulders probably in many of these places. So it's kind of that makes it difficult. That's the country club right there, I do believe, and you can see that is surrounded by water. That's the main clubhouse, and then the pro shop is there off to the right. water rushing into the neighborhoods to try to fill things up and even things out, as water will do. And also, I want to thank our captain, John Rice, who gave us this ride. There's the Johnston home out there that's become an island that we all know too well. And I thank Mr. Rice from the Maddock area. And he was kind enough to offer up his helicopter to us today to take us up for a little bit of a special tour, in addition to the one that we got from the Black Hawk from the National Guard. There's the area of the Hoven baseball fields, and then those homes alongside of that. And you know, all of them are battling this water. It's a it's a shared experience, I guess, for way too many people. Some of these school buildings that lost the fight here, just an awful thing to see. We pull out and get a look at this particular area. That's the Arrowhead Shopping Center, the big building with a lot of water on that. There's the MSU Dome and the Minot State University campus, and then the buildings that are just across the street from it. You know, we know that there's Roosevelt Park, the water slide right there in the pool area. And over at Lowe's Garden Center, and then looking off toward the east, toward the fairgrounds in that area, there is the fairgrounds grandstand, looking over toward the Holiday Inn now, and flying off in that easterly, southeasterly direction. And unfortunately, I have to report that the Holiday Inn received quite a bit of water. Some of the trailer park areas down in southeast Minot, with, again, water pretty much covering the entire first floor of many of these homes, or half to 3/4 of the first floor in some cases, depending on how far away from the river they might be located. Just that the immense size of this water, the way it spreads out there, is so hard to believe. And I think that's Swanston Equipment, and then the KOA campground out south of Minot. Some of the recognizable landmarks out there. Sometimes there's just not many words that you can say that will add anything to the pictures that you're seeing. Maybe I could try to give you something positive. How about this? The city is expected to see a crest in the Mouse River overnight tonight, maybe just a few more inches higher than it stands now. It's at 1561.68. We're expecting a crest of, you know, only an inch or two higher than what it is now at 1561.8. It should stay above the 1561 level right through Tuesday morning, expected to stay above the 1559 level for a full week. And we don't know beyond that, because that's as far as the projections go out into the future from the National Weather Service. So it's hard for us to tell you exactly how much you know, longer we'll have levels over that record level. The previous record was set at 1558 in the year 1881. And so, you know, we're going to be above that level for at least a week. Who knows, it might be a week and a half, close to 2 weeks. Probably above the level of the 1969 flood that everybody remembers so well back in 69, which was 1555.4. You know, who knows how long we'll have water above that level. So it's going to be a long haul. And we remind you that the Federal Emergency Management Agency has cleared Ward County to have individual assistance for people who live in this county. So you can go to their website or go to their telephone anytime between 6 a.m. and midnight until further notice each day of the week. And their phone number is 800-621-3362. 800-621-FEMA. That's 3362. Or you can go to their website at disasterassistance.gov. disasterassistance.gov, to start the process of trying to qualify for a bit of aid to help you in this process of getting back to your home. And the immediate individual assistance that's available would be to cover your expenses that you incur related to living, you know, getting by, rent, that sort of thing. So we encourage you to take advantage of that and see if you qualify, which we trust that you will if you live in Ward County. Now, we're also hoping to hear that other counties along the Mouse River qualify for this, and state officials, the governor and senators and congressmen have told us that they are pushing FEMA to add more counties to the list in North Dakota that will qualify for that individual assistance. I know Sean Sipman is working on some more aerial footage, so we're going to pass that along to you very soon. And we're going to also have more coverage for you of Flood Fight 2011 as we continue around the clock 24/7 here on KX News.
From KX News in high definition, this is a special report on Flood Fight 2011.
Thousands of homes around the Minot area, all along the Mouse River, from Saskatchewan down to Velva, back up to Manitoba. Thousands of homes are washed out tonight and have been now for a few days in some places, and in some places, in fact, for weeks and even months, because of the rising Mouse River. Perhaps the rise is over in Minot. We are looking for the possibility of a crest in the next few hours, but we're also looking at a long time that we'll see very high water levels. At least a week with water above what the previous all-time record was. And that previous all-time record was in 1881, set at 1558. We're expected to stay over the 1559 level for at least a week, and you know, from then on, probably a very slow drop in the river. Of course, we had a major rainfall event in the region tonight, and so it'll be a question about if that is going to do anything. One official from the Weather Service told Perry Olson this afternoon that it would be, in his belief, that we'd be likely to see an extension of the crest rather than an increase in the actual crest level because of a rainfall event such as the kind that we got tonight. So we'll see how that affects the area. And also, don't forget that we're under a boil order because there is the possibility of contamination of the water supply. Some untreated water was able to infiltrate the city's water supply system, and it forced First District health officials to take some tests, and we're waiting for the results of those tests now to see if in fact the water is contaminated. In the meantime, you should boil your water if you're living in Minot or Burlington or Minot Air Force Base or Surrey, or some of the folks who are served by North Prairie rural water, basically north of Minot. On the phone with me right now is Jody Dickout, who is from Iowa, and he is in charge of the Disaster Human Resource Council, the president of the Iowa Disaster Human Resource Council. Jody, good evening to you.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
We are in good shape. We're going to make it through this thing, and I'm told that, you know, I'm kind of going into this cold here. Now, Jody, by the way, had a different name when he used to be on KXMC TV. He was known as Steve Roberts. He did the weather here quite up for a long time, didn't you, Steve?
I did. Those were many, many moons ago.
And nowadays you have become, well, tell me about it. What is the Iowa Disaster Human Resource Council, first off?
Well, Jim, the Iowa Disaster Human Resource Council is the state VOAD for Iowa, and VOAD stands for, of course, Volunteer Agencies Active in Disaster.
Okay.
And so after leaving North Dakota many years ago, we wound up moving down to Missouri, and then finally we've settled here in Iowa for the past 8-9 years, and became a pastor, and so I work for the Adventist Church, and as part of my responsibilities, I'm the state director for Adventist Community Services Disaster Response, and so that's how I've become over the last couple of years here active in our state VOAD here in Iowa, and have become the president of that organization. And so we've been quite active here in Iowa and also specifically in Missouri, working with the Joplin disaster and tornado that went through St. Louis a number of months ago now. And so as my wife and I have been keeping tabs on our old home back there in Minot, it certainly tugs at our heartstrings, and we've been very interested in what's taking place.
Well, tell me just a little bit about it. I'm sure that a lot of people here in Minot would perhaps be able to learn something about what happens in a disaster situation. Let's take Joplin, Missouri as an example, where the tornado hit. That was this spring, as I recall, and I don't remember the number, but it seems to me it was a large percentage of the town that had homes that were destroyed or at least damaged heavily by that tornado. Am I remembering that right so far here?
Correct. There were almost 8,000 homes that had some level of damage to them, either totally destroyed or partially destroyed. A little over 12,000 of the city's residents were affected directly. And so when those things happen of that magnitude, it certainly is shocking, to say the least.
Yeah. So it's kind of
like you're in a war zone.
Kind of a parallel to what we have here in Minot, where we're estimating 10 to 12,000 people evacuated. We figure at least 4,000 homes that have water on them, and hundreds, perhaps over 1,000 that have water pretty much right up to the rooftop, and it's going to stay there. And that's the really difficult thing for a lot of people here, is it's going to stay high for weeks now, and people won't be able to go back and pick up the pieces after a tornado. On the other hand, we've not suffered any injuries or deaths from this that we're aware of, and that's, of course, a blessing right there. But tell me just a little bit about the process of accessing the kind of disaster assistance that people will be able to get in the Minot area, for instance. The Ward County has been accepted by FEMA for individual assistance, and that was something that the congressional delegation talked about a lot. But what does it mean? How do people go about it here?
Yeah, that's a huge piece that really starts to open up relief to begin to flow, pun intended, into the area to help the survivors in a very practical manner. Typically, in disasters, whether it is a flood or a tornado, there's a process in which agencies, VOAD, or other agencies begin to work through that. And that is that all disasters are local, which people go, duh, but there's a process of that all the disasters are local, and the approach to managing or handling or responding to them follows a pattern. So the local municipalities, governmental authorities, emergency response offices all kick in. When the response goes beyond what the level of the municipality or the local county can handle, then the request is made then to the state. And so the state emergency management kicks in. And when the disaster maximizes the ability for the state to respond, then the states reach out to the federal government. And so there's a kind of a passing the baton, if you will, or a tapping out that is required. And so sometimes that process takes a little time. As public citizens, sometimes we're not kind of in that loop. We don't understand, but that can take a little time. So to have the federal government declare the presidential declaration for individual assistance, there's two types of assistance. There's public assistance, which takes care of the infrastructure needs for damaged roads and utilities and things like that. That usually gets turned on pretty quickly in a disaster. Individual assistance needs to, it kind of has to muster a certain level of, obviously, that you're there. So that you have that now turns on the ability for all of the agencies to be able to come in, give support. It provides a certain level of support for individuals. And then you were talking earlier tonight about, people that have questions of, I've got a home that's underwater. What do I do with my mortgage? How do I get access to the right places to apply for the assistance? So disasterassistance.gov or the toll-free number for FEMA. The thing that happens is that over time, as this goes on, and not being there, some of this may be already in place. It's a natural process for disaster response, but there's an area or a building or a place that's set up called in disaster response we call it the MARC. That acronym stands for the Multi-Agency Resource Center.
Right, and they are going to set up those in Minot, I'm told, right?
Right, and so when those get set up, every agency, which will range from the Red Cross for all types of care that they provide to organizations that provide crisis intervention or crisis counseling, to Salvation Army, to the Small Business Association, SBA, to legal counsel as to how to process the banking industry, all of the various organizations that need to have, Housing Authority, FEMA, the state emergency management areas. All of those agencies are usually placed in that one location. You would be notified of that information, and then be able to direct people there to go through a process of what's basically called case management. And case management in disaster response through VOAD, we have volunteer and donations management, which is the specialty that I handle in the VOAD here in Iowa as the subcommittee chair for that. Then you have special needs for those that have disabilities, and so there's special needs for that. There's mass care. Red Cross and Salvation Army usually take the lead in mass care. And so there's just all of these areas that it's really a collaborative effort that brings a lot of people together. I heard you talking about Convoy of Hope, one of our great VOAD partners. Worked with them closely down in Joplin. They're actually here in the Midwest. Their office is out of Springfield. I'm not sure if that's the office that is working with you folks there. But just great folks, and just a lot of folks that come together and do whatever is needed to bring the resources together.
Just to give my example, I don't know if you can, but so what happens with the person who's got the mortgage and no house essentially to show for it now? As the FEMA person put it, it's kind of a patchwork quilt that has to get put together for that person to kind of get from point A to point B. Can you give me just an example of how that might work?
Well, certainly there is through the public or through the individual assistance, there is a maximum grant that individuals have access to, and that maximum grant caps out just a little over $30,000. And then there's other, the Small Business Administration offers folks who, there's an application process, and based on qualifications, have access to very low-interest loans that I'm not specific, I'm not sure of what the cap on that is. I believe it's close to I don't want to have people quote me, but I think it's close to around the $200,000 cap based on qualifications.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where the patchwork quilt is. It's not a one-stop shop, where just one entity can take care of it all, but it is a process, and that's what case management brings to disaster response, because there will be case managers on hand that will know all of the steps, will know every place to look, every place to apply, all the agencies that will have different resources. It will also help to keep from overlap or redundancy in duplication of benefits, because that's also then becomes problematic, because that
the duplication.
They want to watch that. Yeah, because that doesn't help families. And so there is just, and the state VOAD is a good resource to look to for that. That's why we exist.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping that people get some information out of this. Am I right in thinking that when a person calls that FEMA number or goes online, that the homeowner will end up with a person at FEMA who will come out and kind of be the case agent? I don't know what the right wording is, but somebody that can be relied upon throughout the process then, or is that fair to say?
Not specifically. What that will do is get them registered for the response or the help that will come from FEMA itself.
Okay, all right.
And so in previous disasters that we have worked here in Iowa and Missouri, the response time typically is quite quick. I mean, when we've had flooding down here in Iowa, we've had folks that call in, they get registered, and FEMA usually will, obviously here it's going to be a little bit different because everything is still underwater.
Right.
But they will send out damage assessment teams that will come in, do inspections, and finalize those processes. Obviously, while the water's still up, they're not going to be able to do that, but they will provide the assistance that can get them through, as you've already been talking about.
Okay.
But then they will also, the case management will happen probably through the state of North Dakota.
Okay.
That is the people that are responsible, and sometimes there's a collaborative effort through the state VOAD. There are different agencies in the VOAD from state to state that will actually handle that. Catholic Charities USA sometimes does that. Lutheran Services International has done that in the past. There's different. Every state is a little bit different of what organization will actually handle that.
All right. Well, Jody Dickout, I appreciate your input here. Thanks for keeping track of us down in Iowa. And I guess what my message to people is that we're kind of at the beginning of this process. They should call into FEMA and get the process started, and then just keep asking questions and making sure that they get satisfactory answers to their questions, so that they know what's available and can get whatever help is available to kind of get back on their feet. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely, Jim. One last thing, just quickly, thanks for your time and for everything that you guys are doing. Our hearts are really with you guys. It is just tearing at our hearts just sitting and watching you night by night and day by day as you're going through this. I want to give a shout-out to all our family and friends up there, and just a bit of encouragement that, hey, even though you may feel a little bit isolated, man, folks are with you in heart and spirit, and obviously a lot of support's going to be coming your way. And just to help folks just understand, this is not a microwave in response. It's more like a slow cooker. I mean, it takes a little time. Patience is of the essence. It's going to happen, and things get taken care of, and just to stay encouraged that help is on the way.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks, Jim.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
That's
Jody Dickout, who is the president of the Iowa Disaster Human Resource Council, who had obviously lots of information and lots of history in working with disaster. He says that he's been involved in disaster responses such as at Joplin, Missouri, with those awful tornadoes that came through there and did such damage and killed so many people. And, we think about all that we've lost here in the city of Minot and along the Mouse River, but that was asked at the press conference yesterday, and I'm not aware of any major injuries or deaths from this flooding at this point, and we certainly would hope that it would stay that way. So from that standpoint, we can consider ourselves to be fortunate as far as that goes. So I thank him for calling in. He used to be the weatherman here. Steve Roberts was his broadcasting name when he was on the air here at KX News back in the 1980s. So if you remember Steve Roberts, that was him right there. Now, while we were talking and looking at some other things, that live picture has been changing over time here. I noticed that all of the big equipment on our side of the river, on the south side of the river, has been pulled back away from it. There is still that backhoe that's working on the other side. It's obviously sitting on the dry side of the dike on the north side there and doing some work. And you can see the bridge kind of still in shambles there as it's laying down in the river and still acting as a dam as before, it seems like anyway. But I'm not sure exactly what kind of changes are happening here with the plan that's going on. Before long, if they're planning to do any work here, they're going to have to bring in lights because we're getting close to the 9:30 hour now. And so pretty soon we're going to lose the ability to be able to see what they're doing out there. And for that matter, they'll lose the ability to see what they're doing out there. So I suppose if work is going to continue, it will be lit up, and we'll be able to keep an eye on it as time goes along throughout the night tonight. And again, we appreciate the efforts of our engineering staff, Trent and Bob, who kind of take turns running our live camera for us here. This time again tonight, we'll be perched up on top of the Milton Young Towers. In fact, Trent, just to make sure that you're not taking a nap on me up there, why don't you zoom out and let's get a kind of a wide shot here and look at the beauty of north central North Dakota minus the water. Keep going here. Let's come out here and we'll check it out there. There we go. That's a pretty shot. Now, if you pan over to the left, we'll look toward the sun a bit and see how things are looking off towards the west of Minot. And there you go. I feel so powerful by saying what I want to have happen, and then look, it happens. As you see the downtown area and the river, from this distance, it doesn't look like all that much, although we know that it shouldn't be nearly that visible from this far away, right? And the sun getting ready to set out there in the west, and panning back over to the east for a view in that direction. We'll look over there, and while we do that, I should tell you that there are no more thunderstorm warnings for our viewing area. Well, maybe there's one. What's the one down there, Tom?
We have a couple of them here, Jim, and we're going to need to change the radar box here so we can see what's going on here. So we have a severe thunderstorm warning from McLean and Sheridan until about 9:45. That's the box on the left.
Okay.
Have we switched?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
He's going to do it in just a second here. Well, you see all the water out there. Okay, there you go, Tom. Now you're on.
Okay, so it's the box on the left, south of Drake. That's the one from McLean and Sheridan. That's until 9:45.
Okay.
We also have a flood warning that's in effect. Anything inside the area of green there, very heavy rain has gone through. Now, the stuff off around Devil's Lake, that certainly isn't in our viewing area, but I want to clear this because if you're watching in Wells County right now, you've got a line of storms getting ready to watch. You can watch this line of storms. Most of them are not severe, but I'll put it in motion. So we know we have a lot of people watching in Harvey. You've got a line of storms coming through. The stretches from Highway 2 between Rugby and Leeds all the way down to Wilton. So it's a fast-moving line. It's very heavy rain. There is some hail in it as well. And the folks in Harvey are going to get it's raining now, and you've got a bit of a break and then a pretty good line of storms to move through.
All right, thanks, Tom, for that update. We're coming up on 9:30 here as our KX News special report ongoing continues. We've been on the air almost nonstop since 9:45 Monday morning. We had just a brief pause Monday morning for a little while, and then Monday evening for a bit to make our plans. And other than that, on the air straight since 9:45 on Monday morning. And, well, we're still going as we await the crest of this Mouse River. We're going to talk about evacuees. Catherine Ross is here to talk with us about that. But first, we'll take a break. Well, she's here, so we'll do it now. Okay, so hi, Catherine. How you doing?
Hi, Jim. I wanted to take the desk with you. I don't think we've had a date on air, and I feel like I've
Really?
talked to everybody
Didn't I do the
else.
sports one time when you were anchoring once? No?
Oh, that's true.
Okay.
That's true. I don't know
Okay.
if we've ever co-shared the desk as news people.
Okay. Well, here you are, and you put in a long night last night. You got back from your trip east yesterday. You got back to about a 1:30 or 2?
Oh gosh, I think it was closer to 4. I feel like I paid my penance for leaving in the first place, for being so dumb to get on that
Well, it took
airplane.
2 hours to get from North Hill to
2.5.
South Hill, to get here.
Thanks,
and then
Charlie, for driving me.
Worked all night long last night. I saw you here this morning when I got into work.
Oh,
I
yes.
made you go home.
You did.
And-
actually, Rick Berg said to me, "You've been up for 28 hours.
Time to go to bed.
You should go to bed." And I said, "Well, if the United States Congress is telling me to go to bed."
Who am I?
Yeah, that and my mother can get me to stop.
Well, tell me a little bit about what you've been up to this evening.
Well, I'm not sure if the story is in yet, Donovan. It's kind of a beast of a story, so it's taking a little while to render in terms of length. Jennifer Thorgrimson actually picked me up at my apartment, and if you've been watching the Catherine Cam, you know that I now have an ocean view out of my back window. There are waves, and it is very dramatic. I went home for about 5 hours to sleep and shower, which
And then
was a luxury.
I woke you up.
And it was very startling to come home to, I know I sound melodramatic, but to a war zone. There are Humvees on my street and HESCO barriers, and thank them for their good work because it's holding. And I have a door to go into and a bed to sleep in. But it is very, very, very odd to hear a megaphone out your window of orders and get away from there. And when I was finally going out, they had let people down the street to take pictures. So I now live at a tourist attraction because it is so dramatic. I've been trying to take pictures, and actually Stephanie Waldorf, when she dropped me off this morning, took pictures. And so my mother called me after I woke up and said, "Oh, I know where you live. I saw it on Facebook that you look like you're doing okay. So thanks, Steph, because otherwise my mom would be worried about me." But when Jen picked me up to drive me back to the station, we were driving down 3rd Street Southeast, and it is, you'll see the pictures in the story, but it is literally camper, 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 vehicle, 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 vehicle on the street. And yesterday you were saying, you should probably go out and find people living, 12 people in a house.
Right.
And I said, well, how will I do that? And you said, by all the cars there, duh. You should
See what you find.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we stumbled across these lovely people who were having a barbecue, and they have a whole smoking thing going, and A lot of people, I think they dropped off ribs for me, which I'm going to have
I
to.
smelled that earlier, and
I think I need to eat
man, they
that.
smelled good. I
So
never, of
thank you,
course, got to
Freeds.
have any, but
If you can hear me, because you had KX on before, I hope the
Yeah.
party's still going strong, and I will have to try those.
well, we'll have to. Donovan, do we have that video yet, or does it need to be trucked by somebody?
Eric is sitting waiting
Oh,
to
it's
truck
just
it.
showing up right now. He said,
So-
"All right, tell me when it's ready, and when it is, we'll."
It's about 3.5 minutes long.
let her
In news terms,
go
that's
to it.
quite long.
That's a long story, but that's okay. We've
it's
been on
worth
the air
it.
for a long time, and
I figured you could use some filler.
we need. Well, no, not that. we need to see these stories. We need to see,
Mm-hmm.
how this event is affecting the people of our area.
And it's
so,
interesting because you have people who were homeless in 1969 and live on high ground now, taking in people who are homeless today. And I don't like to use the word homeless,
No,
but
well,
I don't
it's pretty much a literal word in this
know
case.
what
yeah.
else to say here.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if the story is there,
It's ready.
let's take a look.
Let's roll it.
We've been calling Minot's flood fight a tale of two cities, whether that be describing the chasm separating the north and south parts of town, or a tragic contrast between the flooded and the dry. South Hill streets are now camper alleys. Bonnie Freed's household has swelled from just herself and her husband to now hosting a much larger party.
5 people, a dog, and a cat.
The Freeds are trying to help their new additions and new neighbors find some distraction today.
I know what it's like because we were in the flood in 1969. We were out of our house for 9 months. I feel for these people.
Despite good intentions, it's hard to find hope and happiness when your heart and home are sinking.
You put up a good front. My heart's not here, and it's almost like, okay, when can we eat? And I want to go home, but there is no home.
We met the Seversons in May after a fast rise in the river left them desperately sandbagging.
May 22nd and 23rd we flooded. So our seepage started April 19th, and a month later we started flooding in the basement and the yard, and then by May 23rd it was totally flooded, 8 feet in the basement and about 4 feet in the yard.
Now, Severson says there is no going back. Black mold is taking over, and she's sure this sign of lighter spirits is now immersed.
Our house and everything would have to be demolished. I hate to think of that.
After they originally evacuated, Deanna and her husband moved in with a neighbor who has now also lost her home. Finding shelter isn't the issue. It's a looming feeling of guilt while living in limbo.
I know we're very welcome where we're at. I just feel bad imposing on people. For instance, today with the bad weather, I'm afraid if we would get a hailstorm or something that their vehicles would be hailed out because they couldn't get in their garage because all my stuff is in there.
Carefree smiles are rare among the evacuated and hosts alike. But it's remembering what they have still, not what they've lost, that may keep that slim glimmer of hope from washing away.
Try and remember they're just things, and remember who has the master plan. Just remember he gave us all the material things we had, and he can take them away. We still have all our family members and our friends. That's what life is. Help somebody else and move on.
Because while smiles may be few and far between, selflessness is in no short supply. Catherine Ross, KX News.
And when she says, help someone else and move on, that, I think I'll remember that for a very long time. Help someone else when you've lost everything. Well, like, shit, you haven't lost everything. We have wonderful people around
Right.
us. But when you're focused on other people in the midst of your own situation,
Mess. Yes. That's good.
it might be a wonderful way to get by, or a really good example.
We had a similar situation, or not situation. We had a similar discussion last night at the family where we were staying. As far as, I said that I just don't know how long that we can stay here and impose on you like this, because this is not a 1 week thing. This is there's a law, and I heard her say she was out of her home for 9 months from the 1969 situation. And
I think we were just saying,
hosts,
people don't want to hear that. You just
No.
go, oof.
Our hosts said, well, we would be insulted if you left. And which, you know, what a great attitude. It's so nice that they're so welcoming, and they're, you know, willing to put up with the mess. But you know, who knows what'll happen over the
And the
next
Freeds,
several
they just want to
months.
make everybody happy. And I'm
Yeah.
sure there are so many people out there with relatives, friends, everyone in their homes, and they just want to lighten your load and make you happy. Because what else can we do for
Good
everyone?
people. It's the kind of good people that you find in every corner of the city.
It's
you know,
true.
and I had a few young men who came in here. I don't know how old they were. They were in their 20s certainly, and you know, they came in and they wanted to meet me and shake my hand, and they said they've been out helping people move stuff and evacuate over the past few days, and so.
Did you shake their hands?
Well, of course.
Sign an autograph?
Yeah, no
teasing.
autographs. But yeah, you know, I mean, and as I say, every corner of the city has this sort of person.
And people are really glued to information.
Oh yeah.
You know, because while I was sleeping, we found out that the river was not going to get as high.
Maybe stopped its rise for now. Yeah.
Which was a lovely little thing to think and dream about. So that's a little silver lining in this whole mess. I was telling even my mother, when I called her, said, "Oh, I've just been glued to Jim at home in Connecticut." She's like,
Hi, Mom.
Yeah, well, I think she's turned it off so
Oh,
she can get stuff done.
Yeah.
But that's what she said. She's like, I had to stop. I just stopped myself after a while. And I have a good friend who said she too, her parents lost their home, and she said she had to stop watching after a while and decompress.
Yeah.
And I worry about people's mental health during all this, because there's only so much you can take before you hit the wall. And I think some people are starting physically to hit a wall.
Right.
So be
So that's
good
why-
hosts, be good neighbors.
That's why you have to go sleep sometimes,
That's why we
Catherine.
have to go sleep.
Yes, and we'll let you work tonight and then sleep again tomorrow if
thank
you're
you.
okay with that
Yeah.
schedule. You know.
Well, I have, if you're in the Edit Bay with me, which you're not,
Yeah.
I have a 2-liter thing of Diet Coke and a little glass. And I told them, you might as well just give me a curly straw so I can just funnel it. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, so now you're off to find something else to tell us about later on, right?
I'm thinking, any suggestions?
Oh, yeah, I leave it up to you.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks,
All right.
Jim.
Thanks, Catherine. And Sheila will be back with Sean throughout the evening here as she and some of our nighttime crew work to keep you updated on what's going on. Before I take the break, let me just take the live shot before it gets too dark out there and see how things are looking. We see they have brought in the airboat here to the side. I hate to say the shore, but I guess that's what it is, really. But show me what else is happening there, Trent. Can you go back up to the bridge area just so I can see what we have here? Oh, they came way up to the side. Wow, that's way over there, yeah. And somewhere out there is that little bridge. There it is. It's funny how we had a hard time finding it because it's kind of a small target for when you're up here on top of one of the highest spots in town. And it seems like, you know, most of the heavy equipment is kind of moved away from it now. And I guess we'll just kind of keep our eye on this and see if anything develops here as the evening encroaches on us. For now, we're going to take a break and be back with more of our 24/7 coverage of Flood Fight 2011 on KX News. Welcome back. We're showing you some live pictures downtown Minot as they load up one of their airboats there from that area. These were the boats that were in use to try to well, keep track of what was going on with that problem bridge over there, the Victoria Bridge. And the other boat is also in that area. There it is, right there over by the Firestone store. Look at the water that's just running through there. And streaming downstream, and this is, you know, way out of the banks of the river, obviously. And it's in front of the Firestone store, and Ebenezer's right there. Yes,
The water
Eric.
treatment plant in Velva is down. They're asking residents to conserve water.
In Velva, okay. So folks in Velva, you are asked to please conserve water because the water treatment plant there has run into some problems. They just tell us that it is down, is what they say. So please conserve water if you are living in Velva because of the water treatment plant problems. Just writing this down so that we can continue to say that when Sean Sitma comes in here to take over for me in about 15 minutes time here. So one other thing we'll try to get to is to maybe get some information about what's going on with the with this bridge question. You know, have they decided to somehow leave it alone? Maybe they decided it's not a problem. Don't know. We'll see if we can find out the answer to that question here in the next little while. That backhoe in the far side there, I thought it looked like it was moving off as well, but it's back now to where it was. So maybe there's still some sort of activity going on there with an effort at something. You know, all you can do is kind of speculate at this point in time. So again, people in Velva, you're asked to please conserve water, and there has been some problems at the Velva water treatment plant. Speaking of water, the city of Minot water treatment plant somehow was infiltrated by water that had not been treated properly, and so the First District Health Unit shut down didn't shut it down, but the First District Health Unit issued a boil order so that if you use water that comes from the Minot treatment plant, that means Minot and Burlington and Minot Air Force Base and Surrey, and then some of the folks who are in the North Prairie rural water treatment, basically north of town, you should boil your water before you ingest it or use it, you know, for things like washing dishes or brushing teeth. Make sure you boil the water for at least a minute. A good rolling boil is how they described it. And do that if you have any question at all. I mean, if you're wondering if you should boil the water for this purpose or that purpose, just go ahead and do it so that there's no question and we don't end up with you know, any sort of illness there. Now, this is not an issue that we know for sure is a problem. The First District Health Unit has started the testing process. We were told that it should be 24 hours or maybe 36 hours before we find out the results that would allow us to either continue the boil order or to end it. And so we don't know, as I say, for certain that this is an issue, but we do know that they're asking everyone to observe that boil order served by the Minot water treatment plant. Now, also, the news came out at today's press conference that the crest is now expected to reach only about 1561.8, and that's just a small amount larger or higher than it stands right now, 1561.8. Let me just see if we have an update here on the latest hour, or if I've looked at it. No, I haven't looked at it yet, so we'll see what the current number is. It has just inched up a little bit there, up to 0.70. I don't know if you can make that change, Tom, for us yet. 0.70, so it's now at 1561.70 at the Broadway Bridge in Minot, and that's now within 1/10 of an inch of the projected crest. So we'll hope that the guesses by the Weather Service are on track here. Now, we say that certainly that's a good thing if the river is able to stop its rise. We've had a slight decrease in the amount of water being released by the dams in Canada. We've had a decrease in the amount of water coming across the border into the U.S. The current releases from Lake Darling Dam are about 24,000 CFS. That's down just slightly. The estimated water flow on the river just west of Minot is 26,800 CFS. We were told today that we expect this crest to come into Minot, including a flow of, I want to look it up to make sure I don't remember the number incorrectly, a flow of 27,600. So we're about 800 CFS away from the expected flow, assuming that all of the flow that's at the Boy Scout Bridge gets into Minot. They don't measure, or they don't publish the measurement of the flow rate for the Minot Broadway Bridge. But good news, crest tonight probably at 1561.8. We have a little chart here that shows you what's going on with that. The issue here, of course, is with all these homes that are in the water, you know, what's going to happen over the long haul. We're going to have a long period of time with the water above the 1561 mark through Tuesday morning, according to the estimate from the Weather Service, and a long period of time over the 1559 mark, at least for a week. They only project for a week, and it's all the way up to the end of that time period that it's projected to stay at 1559 or higher. And, you know, just for reference, 1558 was the highest ever coming into this year. So we're looking at least 1 week of water higher than the highest ever recorded amount of water in the city of Minot from the Mouse River. And 1969's top level was 1555.4. So, you know, we're probably looking at least 2 weeks above that level. So this is a very, very serious flood situation. We have probably the worst flooding, certainly the worst flooding in the history of Minot, and maybe among the worst flooding in the history of the state of North Dakota. with this event. Some thousands, at least 4,000 homes estimated to be underwater to some degree. There you see homes where the water is maybe up on about the doorknob level or so of the front door or so. That's a live picture from Trent up on top of that beautiful building downtown and the Milton Young Towers. And you know, in some places the water is closer to the roof of the house, and there are, I would bet, at least 1,000 homes that have water within a foot or two of the roof line of their homes. And you know, the rest of them with varying amounts, from just a little bit, you know, certainly a filled basement, all the way up to maybe 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 feet high on the outside of the home. So it's a devastating flood. That's the only way to describe it. The crest, as I said, expected tonight. The other crests for rivers, for the river in our area. In Logan, we're expecting it to hit 41.9 feet tomorrow. In Sawyer, where the work on the dike, I believe, is still continuing, they're expecting a tomorrow evening crest of 30.5. In Velva, we're looking for a Monday crest of 15-18, and we saw some of the work that's going on in Velva to try to get ready for the onslaught there. In Towner, a number that's just hard to fathom. You know, it used to be, I want to say the record previously was 56.7 feet, the all-time record in Towner. And the reason that this one always just gets to me is that in that area, it is so flat in that area that for it to go up a foot over the amount of acreage that has to be covered for a foot of water to go up is just incredible. So if it is able to reach 61.4, that would be more than 3 feet higher than the old record. That's scheduled to hit on the 29th of next week. Bantry is looking at 16.4 level, the 30th, Thursday of next week. West Hope, July 6th, the crest of 23.5 at the West Hope gauge, and the old record was about 20 feet, and that was eclipsed already once this spring, and it will now be eclipsed again, according to the estimates of the National Weather Service. One thing, you know, a story that I guess I'll have to put together for tomorrow. I think it will still be timely tomorrow, since we haven't seen an increase in the river. Is folks in the Chaparral Addition who, as of this morning, late morning, had still not seen water get over the dikes and into their neighborhood. I talked with a woman there who was, you know, just so thankful, and so thankful to the people who helped with the dike system there to keep the water out of the Chaparral Addition. So we'll have that for you tomorrow, because I'm sorry I actually forgot to do that before I came on the air this morning back at whenever it was, or noon or 2 or something like that. I guess 2 o'clock I came on. So we'll have that for you tomorrow in our coverage. Tonight we have Catherine Ross here, and Eric Manlove is here, and I think maybe Jen might still be in the building helping out Thorgrimson. And we have others who are back there. Steph is back there, Stephanie Waldroff, and I hope I'm not missing anybody, but you know, coming up, Tom Schrader will be here along with Sean Sipma, and they'll be here to kind of take you through this Saturday night into Sunday morning. It's funny, I find myself wondering what day of the week it is, because we've been doing this now since Monday morning, and you kind of lose track of where you are in time. Throughout the evening, we also have the services of Trent Kinzel, who is down on top of Milton Young Towers, bringing us shots like this one right here, which shows you the Brick Studio on the right and the Gem Federal Credit Union on the left. And how is that reader board still working there at the Gem Federal Credit Union in an area that I would have sworn might have been unhooked from the electricity, unless it maybe has some sort of a solar power component to it or something? I suppose that's not out of the question. But Trent is up there with that camera up on top of the Milton Young Towers, and I think Bob Berger is coming in to relieve him at midnight. They have been putting in 12-hour shifts, our two-man engineering team, and doing that and making sure that we're able to bring you the live coverage of press conferences and that sort of thing. Tomorrow we should be back to our normal HD coverage of the press conference, so that we can bring that to you in its normal form. We'll have a little bit better audio feed for you to be able to hear. And I just want to recap some of what happened at the press conference today. And one thing it's an oddity when you have an assembly of the press is to have an outburst of applause, but that happened this afternoon when the mayor said that the new crest projection was 1561.8 and expected to happen overnight tonight. He called that great news, as some of the reporters in the room started to clap, and then some of the others. Of course, it's not just reporters there. There are a lot of people from around Minot who attend those press conferences. He did say that we all are still vulnerable to thunderstorm events, and of course, we had thunderstorm event move through overnight tonight, or not overnight, but this late afternoon, mid to late afternoon, that dumped, probably over an inch of rain in the north part of Minot, a ½ inch of rain in the south part of Minot, but it also dumped rain kind of up the Des Lacs Valley up to Kenmare, where there were reports of over 2 inches of rain that fell in less than a half hour, and then over toward the Mohall area where they had some big rainfall amounts also. There was still, unless it's been canceled, but I think there is still a flood warning for those areas, for the Mohall and Mohall and Kenmare areas. So that concern about thunderstorms, we may have to revisit tomorrow when the press conference comes around, to see if the National Weather Service and the Corps of Engineers have any concerns about what happened with that situation. Shelters last night in Minot, there are 2 shelters in operation, of course, still. You can seek shelter at the auditorium or at the MSU Dome. About 268 people did that last night, and 60 or so sought shelter at the Minot Air Force Base. The governor talked about the mandatory evacuation for Velva that's now taken effect as of 6 o'clock tonight, a precautionary measure. He said they've not seen any levee overtopping, but some of the pictures that Sean showed us from that aerial tour showed us that, it's getting pretty close, but they're working overnight tonight and into tomorrow to try to get that done. They're working on the Sawyer levee also. They had some problems overnight. He said the FEMA Individual Assistance Award for Ward County is going to make a big difference, and we've talked about that a few times tonight as well. Rick Berg was up there, and he kind of got choked up at the press conference today, talking about seeing the U.S. flag hanging on the Broadway Bridge, and talking about how North Dakotans seem always ready and able to face challenges and come together to make it through situations like these. Lieutenant Colonel Bergman from the Corps of Engineers said that the Sawyer issue, they fixed the problem with the dike there, and they're still continuing to try to get it finished up. Throughout the night, of course, we have these live cameras, or you're seeing some of those right now. And then in that press conference, it kind of ended, not really ended, but one of the last things that the officials told us was this problem with the water supply, or potential problem with the water supply, that the 1st District Health Unit is checking into. In the meantime, don't forget, a boil order is in effect for the Minot area. If you're served by the Minot water plant, that means Minot Air Force Base, Burlington, Surrey, and North Prairie Rural Water. Tom?
Well, I'm on Weather
Tom's
Kid Mike.
Weather Kid,
Mike,
okay.
and I would just got off the phone with the National Weather Service trying to find out what their initial thoughts are on how this rain is going to impact us. And they have a new model that just came in. He's trying to force the output quickly. So it might be here in a minute. Now he's trying to force it down the line.
A new model, you mean
a new projection type of thing on how this storm is going to impact it. But I got the sense from talking to him that there's going to be a bit of an impact. Okay. But they didn't seem to be really concerned at this point. And there's a couple of areas that that we can kind of go over here. Okay. First off, for the Des Lacs River, most of the Des Lacs River basin was spared except for the Upper Wildlife Refuge. Right. And the reason why that kind of works into our favor is it takes a while for that to work its way through. Okay. Also, the Lake Darling, there was some stuff there, and it's pretty full, but again, that's one of those things where it's going to take a while to work its way through, so that buys us a little bit of time. Now, for the mouths around town, the main concern is for the coulees, that they could be flowing faster. Right. And the number that they initially coming up with was maybe 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch rise here out of that, but in the Mouse River, right? In the Mouse River, and that could happen in a matter of hours. 1/10 to 2/10 of a foot, I think you meant to say. You said okay. Yeah. Yes, you're right. Yeah. And this could happen in the next couple of hours. Okay. The rain that fell across Lake Darling, the heavy rain was not widespread, and the Sherwood inflows are enough that they're being able to handle a little bit. So my sense was that it was localized enough, and I think I heard you 4 or 5 times, and when I walk around, pointing that out, that this wasn't a widespread, 4-inch rainfall type of thing. Right. So so that's some good news from the National Weather Service, saying that maybe the crest might end up being 1562 instead of 1561.8 overnight tonight, because it could impact it just in the next few hours. Right. So, yeah, okay, that's good to see. And the radar there has these storms hustling off to the east as they head out of our area, and
you know, we'll be happy to see no rain on the forecast in the next several
In Harvey,
days.
they just got an inch of rain when I went through.
Yeah,
At
same
KXND.
thing here. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to call it a day for today. Sean Sipma is warming up in the bullpen right now, getting ready to come in and relieve me. Tom Schrader will be here throughout the night. And, you know, I referenced it just briefly a little while or earlier today about there was kind of a famous or infamous headline from, I think it was an Associated Press story a couple of years ago, and it said, everything is seemingly spinning out of control. And they were talking about, you know, the gas prices were up and the home values were down, and it was, you know, it was a difficult time. It was kind of in the financial crisis time, late in the Bush administration, and they were saying that, you know, the average American is just finding so much to be negative about that it was hard to see a way out, a light at the end of the tunnel. Well, you know, we had that feeling this afternoon around here because there were so many things happening. We were looking at that bridge and what was going to happen to the bridge sitting in the water that was causing problems, we were told. We were getting just pummeled by rain and hail in the area at the same time. We actually had a moment where we were close to going to our own tornado shelter here in the building because there was a possibility of a tornado somewhere in the Minot area. And we have a shelter here at the building where we can seek shelter if that happens. But, you know, we came through that okay, and we're out the other side of it now. And we're still able to continue to bring you all of the latest information. And we'll continue doing that 24/7 here for a while as we keep wanting to make sure you have the most information and the most up-to-date and accurate information whenever something might happen along the way. So I ask you to keep that in mind, that you know, we can come out the other end of it, whether it's making it just a few hours through a day like this or whether it's making it 9 months until you get back into a home that you can call your own once again. Everything is not spinning out of control. You're doing just fine. Just come together and help each other out. Sean Sipman will help you out live when we return in just a bit.
And welcome back. It is 5 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock. Sean Sipma in with you now, replacing Jim Olson, the reliever coming in, and we have sent our main heavy hitter off the mound home, I guess, if we want to just continue on with the baseball terms. Thank you so much, Jim, for all that you have done throughout the day to keep us abreast of what really, and apprised of what really has happened throughout the last, well, since I left this morning at 6 a.m. when that initial call came out in Sawyer that the sirens had gone off and that they were starting that evacuation in Sawyer. We will recap all that has happened in the past, I guess in the past 12 hours or so, past 12 to, well, daylight hours anyway, as a very elongated edition of KX News is beginning right now. You know, it was the first Saturday of summer, and it may be remembered for some for good news. Smack dab in the middle of the worst event in Minot in the history that we've ever had. Perry Olson has the news that may have given you some hope, and the other headlines from today's press conference that may have been turning your stomach over on you as well.
The Mouse River at Minot is about to crest. Mayor Kurt Zimbelman announced the long-awaited good news at the press conference on Saturday. 1561.8 is now the projected level the river should reach this weekend. That's about 2 feet less than what was predicted before. But while that's good news, the bad news is it will still be a long, long time before residents who were jolted from their homes can return to see what the water has done. The river should stay above record flood stage for at least another week. The other big headline from today's press conference, residents of Minot, Burlington, and the Air Force Base must now boil tap water before using it. The city is unsure if the water supply has been contaminated, but as a precaution is recommending this step. Untreated water has infiltrated the system, causing the concern. First District Health Unit officials stress that you should not use tap water to wash dishes, brush your teeth, wash and prepare food and formula, or make ice. The duration of this order will stretch to at least 24 hours, maybe more, as officials wait for test results to indicate whether or not the city's water supply was indeed compromised. In Minot, Perry Olson, KX News.
And again, that boil order has gone into effect, and that means that you must boil the water for at least a minute, hopefully as much as a couple of minutes, to make that drinking water safe. Also added to the list of towns to the boil water this evening was the city of Surrey. Now, water was shut off in Burlington south of Johnson Street today. It wasn't caused by a water line break, but rather several small leaks from flooded homes. Well, most homes in the area with water shut off have been evacuated. There are several still fighting the floods from their homes. City officials are looking into water alternatives for their homes in order to install 4-gate valves to turn on water only to the homes that still are inhabited. The city will have to place 3 of the few good roads left under construction. Alternately, the city could run water hoses from the fire hydrants to the families still in their homes. Either way, turning all the water back on isn't an option.
Most of the problem came in the trailer court, where the trailers actually floated away and snapped the lines to their house. We had a lot of water boiling up in there. We also had a few water heaters that floated up in basements and snapped the lines. Tie all those together, we got a lot of leaks, so we ended up shutting off that entire side of town for now.
Homes that do have water in Burlington still need to conserve water, as both lift stations are stressed. Water in Burlington should also be boiled before use until further notice. Well, once again, we promised that we would be back into the air to give an absolute idea of what has happened over the last 24 hours since our last Black Hawk ride, and we certainly were able to again once, thanks wholly to the North Dakota National Guard. And this is a very, very elongated series of videos here, so we may actually come to first look somewhere in the middle, maybe as we head towards that Logan area. But first, let's get a good look at what's going on here. This was taken at about 2:30 today. That is Maple Street, and as Jim pointed out earlier in the evening, many homes have water right up to the roof joists. Many homes have water well up into the attic, and others are submerged. It is really just a wide variety and array of circumstance, depending on where that house lies within correlation to the elevation of that river. And you can see that the water, as we saw in the last few days, is literally just taking over the valley. Nubbin Park in northwest Minot, right along 4th Avenue, up to the north there. But you can see water's edge. Once you start making your way up the hill, there is a distinct line, almost a line on the city streets in the yards, where some houses on one side of the block are fine and others, well, not so lucky. Some may only have water in the basements. Longfellow, which had a protective dike, now has water on the entire main floor. Hopefully you are able to find your home as we make our way around the Magic City, and if not, we really do apologize for not being able to show everyone's home, simply because we do follow just a simple and basic flight plan that was set forth today by actually city leaders who were trying to get a good look at some of the infrastructure and things like that. And of course, we were simply allowed to tag along, and we're able to get some, I think, very good video in hopes to, I guess, create a little bit of finalization for some people, maybe a little bit of realization of exactly what's going on to others. The Arrowhead Shopping Center, you can see, has long since lost that battle. Harley's Amoco has water. There's a home on Oak Drive with water about 2 feet below the top of the first floor. Central Avenue West, a very familiar route to myself. Homes with water again right up to the rooftops, and Oak Park in the foreground there. The Oak Park Shopping Center to the right. We're looking right around that 8th Street area, where in 1969 they had left behind a high water mark on a power pole for me to find, and that was this past Sunday, I believe. Sunday came in and walked down the street, and right now I can tell you there's over 11 feet. That is Ramstead Middle School. That dike missed the height mark by about 2 feet. Right now, down in that area where that high water mark was from 1969, over 11 feet of water now completely consumed that area. Minot State University still holding well, a little bit of water and seepage. However, pumps are able to keep up with that, and it looks as though Minot State, knock on wood, Minot State University will keep the floodwaters at bay. You can see a few individuals actually walking that dike. Security checks around the clock as these high flows are set to continue for quite some time. Those are some of the newer apartment complexes finished about 4 to 5 years ago right off University Avenue, and Augustana Church as well on the wet side of that secondary levee. Levee that was built to help protect a vital part and piece of infrastructure for Minot, our north-south route, and that being Broadway. And you can see where a third part of a levee system had to be constructed, and there it is. One of the pieces of machinery, an excavator, was also sacrificed as that levee system faltered and failed, and another levee had to be built even higher right at the edge of Broadway to try to maintain that route. And at this hour, crews continue to work on those, and you can see some of the rooftops just barely visible in the northwest part of town. There's 3rd Street and 5th Avenue. And just to the left, we're going to see Ramstead Middle School. Once again, we were able to get a few shots of this. Again, being on the, it seemed to be on the wrong side of the Black Hawk at times. Is I believe the superintendent of Minot Public Schools was taking a good long look at what lies ahead for so many schools in Minot. That is Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railway at 1st Street Southwest, the Broadway Bridge, and Keating Furniture in the foreground there. And again, this is coming up into evacuation zone 4, 5th Street and 1st Avenue. It really is kind of amazing to see the differences in some of the houses. Some houses have water up to that 2nd floor even in part of evacuation zone 4. And it is amazing. At some point here, I did fly over and just happened to look down and get a quick little picture of my house at the end of 4th Avenue. It's very well hidden normally by some very large oak trees, but oh, there it is in the bottom. And yep, there's about 6 feet of water on my main floor. Other houses wholly consumed right next to the river there. A very still day before those severe thunderstorms rolled in that brought inches of rain to areas and dumped some much needed moisture into the Magic City, and moisture that we certainly did not need. And again, it's almost amazing where that water line is from those who were spared and those who were not. Water right up to curbs and right up to the foundations of others, and most likely a great many homes in Minot right now dealing with seepage as that water just kind of saturates the ground and brings up that water table. And really makes life very difficult for so many. You can see Little Flowers School, rather, and church right there. That levee was built to protect the church and looks to be at this hour holding it again, Minot State University. And again, they were hovering at this point for some of the folks on the other side of the Black Hawk to get a very good look at what had become of Ramstead Middle School. And me being on the other side, I tell you what, we are going to take a very short break. We have some weather to talk about as severe weather. I believe severe weather is still in our area, Tom. We'll get an update on that, a first look at our forecast, and take a quick look at some of the clouds that rolled into Minot that really put a lot of us on edge. And we will do that as our continual coverage of Flood Fight 2011 resumes right here on KX News. And welcome back. It is 20 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock on a very, very elongated version of KX News at 10, as I believe we began Monday on our flood coverage. Now, Tom, we had a very significant amount of rough weather that rolled in today. And before I think we kind of get into it, I went out and shot some video amidst all the aerial stuff that we're doing. I peeked outside and couldn't believe what I was seeing. So Donovan, go ahead and
what do we have here?
Take a look. This is what, well, you guys were in here talking about it. This is what was rolling in from the outside. Maybe you can tell me and give me a little bit of a description what this is.
Well, we've had, I'm reading notes here because I was inside, and this was with a HD camera, so we can get a pretty good idea of what's going on here. Now, there was a lot of straight line winds going in through here. And that's what I'm trying to get the exact, because they look kind of, when you're this close, it's kind of hard to tell the difference. And so I have actually confirmation of what that cloud is. It is a shelf cloud. Wall clouds and shelf clouds look quite a bit similar when you're close to each other, and these are shelf clouds, and there was not a tornado on the ground. Now, I know the sirens went off. The National Weather Service had somebody here because they're working on the flood.
Sure.
And they were out watching the same thing you were doing. You had some great video, and you might even had a different vantage point than them, Sean, because they were downtown.
At one point, this part right out here really got you nervous. To us, it looked like a good amount of rotation.
Oh, no, these storms were rotating.
Oh,
There's
absolutely.
no doubt about that. And there was a lot of that.
Feel the temperature drop as this thing kind of came in. I'm fairly used to that storm chasing during the summer a little bit, but you know, when you're watching the rotation and you feel that temperature drop about 20 degrees in a matter of moments, it really kind of makes things a little unnerving for you.
Well, you had us out there, and I know the video is just kind of going on by, but you know, when people see those little things, the little fingers or whatever, and hanging down from a cloud, you know, the first assumption is when there's bad
Funnel
weather,
cloud.
it's a funnel cloud. Yeah.
In which it's not. It actually just, it's the way the cloud formation
And
is.
the way you tell the difference is it rotating?
Is it
that
swirling?
individual? Is that
Is it
individual thing
swirling?
swirling? If it's
Yep.
not swirling, it's not. And there's a whole lot of those little fingers there. And you know, you did have a different vantage point. I mean, you're both kind of saying the same thing. So I'm not saying that you're saying what the National Weather Service guy is wrong or not, because you're both saying the same thing. There was a lot of rotation, a lot of reports of funnel clouds, and that was a shelf cloud. But the thing was nothing touched the ground. And I know the sirens went off.
That is great. And that was the other point I was going to make. The sirens blew again, and at that point I thought, wow, really? Come on, I mean, we need a break at some point.
I will say the National Weather Service did not trigger the sirens.
No,
I asked them personally that.
No, and I'm not making comment about anybody blowing the sirens.
No.
But I'm saying we had that happen earlier this week, and it was that moment of devastation for so many of us.
If I'm down at Central Dispatch, I may be pulling the trigger on that one, because there's people out trying to save the city. We're in the flood fight of our lives. There's a lot of people out with cameras taking pictures. There's a lot of people outside, and we've got funnel clouds. I mean, you have to err on the side of common sense. And it may have not been a tornado on the ground, but it wouldn't have taken a whole lot. I mean, the atmosphere wasn't set up for much like that. Anything coming down to the ground, but all it takes is one.
Absolutely.
So you err.
Do we have any severe weather in our area right now?
No severe weather in the area right now. There's a whole line of storms that just went through Harvey. I have a lot of rain reports, and we can do that a little bit later if you have a schedule you're trying to keep to. I will tell you, in the north end of Minot, 1.7 inches of rain, and I have a lot of others. How many do you want me to go through here?
But you can fire off a whole bunch. I mean, we've got till 6 a.m. Let's be honest.
Well, North Minot, 1.7, Newtown, 1 inch of rain in 20 minutes. A half mile north of Burlington, 1 3/4 inches of rain. Kenmare, 2 1/4 inches of rain. 5 miles north of Mohall, 1 inch in 30 minutes. 2 miles west of Surrey, 1 inch of rain. Bodno, 9/10. And there was one spot, and I don't have it here. I couldn't find all my notes coming in. I think it was Upham. It rained at a rate of 10 inches an hour. Now, it didn't rain 10 inches, but it rained that hard.
Somebody asked me earlier, could we drop this radar down a little bit? The folks up in Botno and all that area were kind of wondering how far this was stretching north, and I couldn't see earlier. So
yeah, I was kind of doing some stuff for Harvey. Rick Jensen over at KXNEWS Radios has been, he uses our radar, and he simulcast, and so I was trying to put them in the middle of the map and forgot about up north. So is that far enough north? Or I mean,
oh yeah, that's well into Canada. As a matter of fact, and and from that vantage point, you can see that everything is well since gone.
There was hail. There were several reports of ping pong ball size hail, and I want to let people know that when you go to the National Weather Service website to look at radar estimated rainfall, if there was hail in the storm, that's probably going to be wrong. It's going to be reading more than it really is.
Okay.
So, Mother Nature took a big shot at us today, and guess what? We're still here.
We're still here, not going anywhere. So, great, Tom. We'll check back with you in just a little bit for a complete rundown of the weather forecast, and that takes us right back into the air for another segment of our Black Hawk tour. Donovan, go ahead and let's go on and continue to give people a vantage point here of what happened today, or what we saw. Ramstead Middle School. Again, this is one of the areas of deep concentration today. As you can see, that the water right up to the top of the roof. Again, we saw this one in the last tour right at Broadway, where that third levee had to be constructed to help save Broadway, as that secondary just wasn't enough, and a piece of equipment was sacrificed inside of that. 4th Avenue Northwest, and that is looking with the railroad tracks right below us, looking to North Hill. And now coming over Roosevelt Park, and you're going to see that little caboose that all of us enjoyed in that park, and might be a little while until we get back in. Senex propane tanks that were pushing right up against the fence but still holding into place, and then the Minot Forestry Department as well, and Central Avenue East, that is just over by between Lowe's Garden Center, the park, and over by the State Fair Center. And many, many rooftops are all that are sticking out at this point in many homes right in this area. Burdick Expressway East, that is the Fairview Lodge right there, the long building, and then the North Dakota State Fairgrounds. And we will see actually a very good shot of this later too, up close and personal. But at this hour today, it was about 3 o'clock. No water, but unfortunately the Holiday Inn had lost their battle. Water well into the main floor there. Again, the State Fairgrounds, the parking lot, and all of it. Now down here is the Souris Drive, and Jim's house is the one that's right behind the tree there. You can kind of see, but it's right up to the ceiling on Jim's house as well. Robindale Mobile Home Park, and you can see that the trailers not much different from many of our homes. The entire park saturated, and it almost looks like parking pads in the water.
This is the first time I'm seeing this because I've been doing weather coverage on our weather channel. And you know what stands out to me, besides everything else? The water's brown. It's just dirt.
Yeah, it's really difficult to get a blue reflection off of it because it is just so dirty. It is filled with just nastiness. You can see Highway 2 well since closed, and that's why it is just feet deep as the Mouse River well overtook that. And I doubt very much there would have been any way without a very extensive construction effort that had started, I would guess, weeks before because of the steep sloping banks there at that road point. So Highway 2 will remain closed for what could be a week or more, depending on what this river decides to do and how long these levels last. And what we're told at is they will stay above that previous record high for quite some time. And that could be staying at that 1561 through Tuesday, and then 1559 for a full week. Eastside Estates. We had been out there many times talking with these folks about their effort to try to keep their subdivision dry just to the southeast of Minot, suffering the same fate. There's 50th Street, somewhere below the water line in that dike system on 37th Avenue that had been built. That is some of the cities, I believe some of the cities' water wells somewhere back into those trees as well. And then looking to the north, again, that's the 37th Avenue bridge that many of us drive from time to time. And then we swing back and take a look at southeast, an area just southeast of Minot, some of the subdivisions and homes that were built out in the valley down by some of the gravel pits. And I think this is my best guesstimate at 70th Street. Google Maps, I was trying to follow along as well as possible, but it is very difficult to try to track down some of the landmarks with so much that is flooded, especially out in areas that I'm not wholly familiar with on a day-to-day basis. It becomes very difficult trying to figure out exactly what is where, and cattle out in the middle of a floodplain now that is feet deep, and no way to get back to higher ground. So not sure what will become of some of the livestock that are out there. County Road 16. All that is sticking out are just the upper joists of that bridge guardrail. And again, you can kind of see where the Mouse River winds around. It almost looks like a dirt path, looking like a very large dirt road, and that's the path that is carved out. But in fact, that's the original river channel. 111th Street Southeast. Probably thought a mile or so away from the river would be more than enough, but in a year of record rainwater, it just doesn't seem to be ever far enough. Again, we are flying what I would say would be right near the top of Highway 52 as we work our way west of Sawyer. And this is another area familiar with motorists on that Highway 52, that old elevator right there. So we will continue our coverage with our aerial assault from our Black Hawk trip today, and we will do that in just a few moments. We'll be back as KX News at 10. Our continuing coverage of Flood Fight 2011 continues. And welcome back to our continuing coverage of Flood Fight 2011. Sean Sitma in with you for this very elongated version of KX News at 10. We went up and again in a Black Hawk helicopter today, thanks to the North Dakota National Guard, the fine men and women in uniform that are helping us out with these flights today. And we're continuing our coverage here as we work our way towards Sawyer, where this morning at 5:45 we had heard that sirens were sounding in the city of Sawyer. That there had been, in fact, a breach. As we found out that was not the case, that there was actually just water running down a roadway, and that some work needed to be done to really take care of that issue. And as we work our way towards Sawyer, we're going to find out exactly what the shape of Sawyer is in right now. We can see some of the outer areas as we just to the west of Burlington, the river channel right there, the Mouse well beyond its banks. And one of the gravel pits up on the hill, and more of the subdivisions just west near County Road 23, right into the attic on many of these houses. Hard to believe that the Mouse is able to actually flow at these levels. And this is where we work into Sawyer. I wasn't sure what to expect today, flying into the town, whereas I had walked off the desk and handed over to Perry Olson in dire need of sleep for myself, so I wasn't able to find out the fate until right around the 11 o'clock hour this morning when I woke up. Thankfully, this is what I saw. Main Street, County Road 23. Streets are dry, some ring dikes protecting property in Sawyer in the event that there should be a disastrous outcome. But right now, it appears Sawyer continues to hold its own. And you can see the railroad there no longer in use. Dikes built right across it. The railroad long since stopped traffic through the entire Mouse River Valley between the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railway line and Canadian Pacific lines. Many areas of that rail track has been damaged, as we have seen in some of our aerial video, and most likely will take a good amount of time. Now, this is an interesting little aerial video that I got here, as they appear to be digging a trench, a secondary avenue for this water to flow through on the Mouse River on the north side of that County 23 bridge. An excavator building a trench right through the middle of the road made to help alleviate maybe some of the stress on that bridge and a possibility of keeping Sawyer from faltering. Lots of heavy equipment still working around the hour to raise those dikes another 3 feet, rather to accommodate the 3-foot crest that is expected, 3 more feet for Sawyer. So you can see that those crews are working around the clock tirelessly. Really and truly an amazing sight here. As I'm watching here, I'll let the video roll and just take a quick peek at the river elevation. It is at 22 feet for the city of Sawyer and expected to go to 30.6 if that approximation is correct. And actually, I'm looking at the hydrograph and it says 27.2. 27.2. So the National Weather Service, I believe, unless that hydrograph doesn't go out as far as it should here, but I see it peaking at 27.7 on the 27th, so just in a couple of days. And you really get a good look at what condition the city is in as far as the amount of work that has been done to raise those levee systems. Bulldozers, again, right at water's edge in the backyards of many of those homes that are more than willing to give up a little of their yard to keep the Mouse River out of their home. Yeah, it really, truly is amazing, the amount of water, kind of a beautiful and horrific sight all at the same time. With that, why don't we just take a pause with our aerial view and turn our attention towards weather. I know we're well past the mark where most people are used to getting their forecasts. So, Tom, again, we had some of that severe weather. What are things looking like?
Okay, well, we had a severe thunderstorm watch, but the storms are off to the east right now. I'm just trying to get my notes together here. And when we do some of these river levels, I couldn't get the graphics changed on one thing, the Boy Scout Bridge, so I'll just mention that. But I want to talk about the effects of the rain that we had today. Overall, it was substantial rain in a small area. I mean, there were people that got a lot of rain. I mean, we did the rain totals a little while ago. 2¼ inches in Kenmare, Burlington 1 3/4, northwest of Minot 1.7. So yeah, lots of rain. There was some hail as well. Now I talked with the National Weather Service right before airtime here, and for the Delac now, the lower part of the Delac was really spared the heavy rain. The upper wildlife refuge, now they got heavy rain, up around Kenmare and stuff, and that takes a while to work its way through. So buys us a little time. It mitigates it a little bit.
Okay.
The rain that fell at Lake Darling, the heavy rain that fell at Lake Darling was not widespread across Lake Darling. There were pockets, but it wasn't widespread, so that all works.
And maybe as we're talking about this, we can put up the Trent cam so that maybe folks can get an idea of what's going on.
Yeah, you can watch.
So
you
go
don't
ahead,
need to
Tom.
see me while we're
you,
doing
but,
this.
Please continue.
We'll take you for a tour while I'm just telling you about my conversation. And then again, getting back to Lake Darling, not widespread across Lake Darling. The flow is now down to 24,000 cubic feet per second. The Sherwood inflows are coming down. So for the mouse, the concern would be for the coulees, that they'd be flowing faster. And so we might be looking at 1/10 of a foot, maybe 2/10 of a foot. And I didn't get the impression from talking to them that this was going to have a dramatic impact. It might hold the river levels a little bit longer. I mean, because the rain's got to go somewhere.
Absolutely.
So we can't say that there's no impact.
Because what's flowing through Minot right now fell in Canada.
It started somewhere else and got here. So, yeah, it might hold it a little bit farther. They ran a preliminary, set of numbers and stuff. He said, I'm going to try to push it through for you guys now, and of course for everybody in the public. But so I want to thank the folks of the National Weather Service for kind of pushing that through. So that's kind of the upside to the heavy rain is it was localized enough that while it'll have some impact, it may not be dramatic. Now, when we start seeing the water getting out of the coulees into the basin tomorrow, they'll run the numbers again, but I just didn't get the sense it was a huge thing. Let's check out what's happening with the, should I go ahead and do the river levels? You want me to do the weather?
You go ahead and do the river levels and then run through the forecast.
You have my clicker.
I have your clicker.
I'll clicker.
I have it's
there
right there.
I'll clicker.
Buried
there we go.
Underneath the mountain of
All right,
papers
so
here.
now here's what I didn't get written down. I have everything changed. Let me find my notes. The new number on that I saw from the Boy Scout Bridge northwest of Minot, and Sean, why don't you double check for me because I want to make sure this was right because it's a pretty big change. The new number is 24.4. Now the forecast that's up there says 27.5. I see 24.4. See if you can find anything different on that.
You're talking about the
Boy Scout Bridge, the new crest, and like somebody on Facebook said, the 80th crest.
You said 24.4.
That's the biggest number I saw.
And the number that I'm looking at down the line here, it bounces
on the right
around
side
so much. Yep, and I'm looking to see if it goes up here. 24.4 is it.
Yeah,
so
and last night and this morning, that was 27.5. And now that may change tomorrow because of the rain, but right now when they ran it, that's the number they came up with. So for the Boy Scout Bridge, that could bounce back a little bit, but right now, let's keep our fingers crossed. Now, in Minot at the Broadway Bridge, it is now 16. I can't even, I got to turn around.
1561.7.
1561.8 expected to crest tonight. And the rain, again, the impact, it might hold a little bit longer because of the rain that fell today, but I didn't get the huge feeling from talking to him, the dreaded feeling from talking to him, that this was going to be a case where it was a major change. Now in Logan, at 40.82 feet right now for the current stage, could go to 41.9. I know that number changed. I don't remember what it was before, but it is now 41.9. In Sawyer, this went back up. I think yesterday it was in the 30s. It went down to the 29s or something, and now it's back up to 30 at 30.6 feet. This would be on Monday, and right now it's at 28.75. And you were, I'm asking questions that maybe people have heard, but I haven't because I was doing so many other things. What happened in Sawyer? There was not a breach. What was it?
There was not a breach. There was actually water just running down one of the main roads down there, and they needed to take care of that issue, which they did with a levee that they ended up putting over the bridge by the looks of it. So they took care of that, and they made the realization that they had not lost their battle. So they went and brought all of their crews back in and went right back to work to raise those levees.
All right, that's good. In Velva, who had to deal with a couple of rounds of thunderstorms as well, the new forecast at 1518.8, and right now the current stage is 1513.25, and that new forecast for Velva is at June 26th. And as we head our way back up the Mouse River towards Manitoba, the stage right now in Towner is 57.05 feet. The forecast, and that's just that number blows my mind because there's really not a lot to hold it in there to make it rise real quickly, but that's the number. It's been there a couple of days. In Bantry, forecast 16.4 with a current stage of 15 feet, 15, and then in West Hope we're at now 19.87, looking for a forecasted crest on July 2nd at 20.8. And you know, we have a lot of folks watching around the world on Facebook. Wanted to show you a picture of our Magic City. I mean, you don't see buildings or anything like that, but we're kind of in a bowl. The highway that kind of goes off to the west is 2 and then 52. The line going straight up and down through the middle of the screen, that's US Highway 83, right through the heart of town, and 52 was the angle, the road that went to the south, east a little bit. Right now 63 degrees, dew points high, west-northwest wind at 5. It feels like 63, humidity 90%. So you know what we don't have is we don't have heat index going today. In Williston, 63 degrees, the dew points dropped a little bit. Cold front has gone through. The wind's now out of the west. The dew point is dropping, humidity at 70%. Now here's the radar and the satellite over the last 12 hours. You will see there it is right there, that line. That's the severe thunderstorm watch. And they did not issue the severe thunderstorm watch at any point when we had the storms going through the north central. It's when it got to the east that they decided to do it. And that's the Storm Prediction Center, and actually they were waiting for convective trends and trying to see what was going on before they jumped the gun on that. So looking off to the west, the sky's clearing out and things looking a lot nicer. Give you a quick tour here of the radar with our HD precision radar. And the rain now, we certainly don't get into Devils Lake or Fort Totten, but I just want to show you that. And Bowden, still some very heavy rain. Rick Jensen at KXND Radio posted that it was raining really hard. I think they said an inch of rain at the studios when it went through just in a short period of time. So there's the line of storms. They're off to the east. Severe weather threat in western North Dakota is almost over. So this is our precision cast. This is what we call precision cast. It's a forecast model. And the heavy thunderstorms, heavy rainstorms off to the east, that precision forecast model looks an awful lot like the real radar. And the reason I point that out is it gives you a fair amount of confidence. Last night at 6, it showed a big old cluster of storms coming through Minot in the late afternoon hours, and boy, at 4 o'clock it was really happening. So let's take a look at tomorrow. Starts off pretty nice. This is obviously not a guarantee, but let's see what it's showing right now. And it's keeping most of the storms I-94 to the south tomorrow, so we have a chance. But we also have a chance of maybe a little bit of sunshine here or there. So I can't guarantee it's going to be a nice day, but at this point it appears the stormy weather is going to remain south, and then once we get into Monday, maybe some rain showers from place to place. But Sean, today was the day I think Mother Nature took her absolute best shot at us.
And if it wasn't, I don't want to see what the best shot would be.
Couldn't be
by far.
Because we don't have earthquakes, we don't have volcanoes. There's really nothing left.
Well,
and we did it.
But I'm knocking on wood right now.
We did it.
Who knows? Anything is out of the realm of possibilities right now. So, well, thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. We got through today, certainly one of the most trying days that I can remember, especially considering the fact of this afternoon with that weather coming in. It really just kind of put a temperament of what could possibly And I didn't even want to say it then what could happen next, but certainly we made it through just fine, and we will continue to. We will continue our aerial tour of the Mouse River Valley as we make our way down to Valva and check out the area as the Star City continues to raise its levee system. We will do that as KX News at 10 and around-the-clock coverage of Flood Fight 2011 continues. Welcome back. It is 51 minutes past the hour as we take a look at what condition right now the Mouse River is as it is flowing through Minot. Work continues to shore up our secondary dike system right through Minot as we attempt to maintain and keep the one of the more important vital viaducts open in Minot, and that is Broadway. A reminder to pass along that boil order remains in effect, that there has been some infiltration of flood water somewhere into our water treatment facility. So the boil order is in effect until further notice, that you must bring the water to a boiling point for at least 1 minute. In addition to that, you are not to use the water for anything that would potentially potentially touch anything that you would ingest, mean brushing your teeth, washing dishes, washing your hands, and things like that. So when in doubt, boil first. And with that, that takes us back into the air. At the Black Hawk Tour today, we were allowed the opportunity to fly with the North Dakota National Guard, and many people had been asking and hoping that we would make our way down to Valva. So Donovan, let's go ahead and take a look as we continued to make our way down the Mouse River Valley as the Mouse River continued its onslaught and climb. Again, we start off looking east at Sawyer as this tour continues, and this video offered a little bit different perspective. If you look on County Road 23, there is something interesting sticking out of the water at kind of a horrific and dangerous moment that many of our hard-working construction crews are facing, that they are the ones that are driving through standing water at times. They're the ones who are working at water's edge, and certainly it is dangerous work, and we cannot thank them enough for the hard work and long hours that they're putting in an attempt to save our cities. And that takes us out of Sawyer as we make our way east in the Black Hawk from the North Dakota National Guard. You can see the city's lagoon system that's going to be appearing on the upper right, still above water's edge, but just the look of that brown water is anything but clean. Certainly that is the reason that boil order is in effect. Floodwater has so much more in it that certainly want nothing and don't want any part of. 20th Avenue North, that is over at the Johnston residence, an area where many of us had sandbagged in April, successfully held the mouse out of the home, but as it were, it was only delaying the inevitable. Highway 52 had suffered closures down by the KOA campground, but as the mouse rose and continued to climb, it overtook the railroad tracks and overtook all of the road in this part of the highway between Valva and Sawyer. And this, folks, is why we say you never, ever, ever drive over a flooded road that is closed. As you're going to see this little white speck up here on the middle of a road, and it is literally up to the nearly the windows in that little car. And if that wasn't bad enough, then the rescue crews were coming out. DOT truck, a Department of Transportation high profile, making their way out to the car. Not sure if that was a water rescue or an attempt to get that car removed off the highway, but nonetheless, the fire and rescue and emergency services standing by should something bad happen. Again, that like we were talking earlier with Jim, that the moment we put ourselves in harm's way is the moment that we also put these fine folks that are in charge of rescuing people, we also put their lives in danger as well. And this is still making our way into Valva on 18th Avenue North, right next to Highway 52. And you can see that certain areas taking on a lot of water there as well. Another road long gone to the Mouse River. It almost looks like a serene lake, and right behind it, green grass and a beautiful levee. Valva continues to raise its levee system, working now for several days. We are going to Hopefully see them successfully make it through until that Monday mark, as that crest is expected early next week in Velva. The baseball diamonds, everything looking very pristine down in the Mouse River Valley. You can see just why it is so hard to lose all that we have lost with the Mouse River. Certainly Minot and Burlington now knowing the fate of what can happen. As a light just flashed behind me here. I thought the thunderstorms had returned, but a light burnt out right behind me. Highway 41, you can see Main Street, Velva, high and dry, looking good, and the dike system off in the distance. That Mouse River runs and wraps its way around north on Velva. Some staging grounds for some sandbags. I really didn't go through and mark a lot of the streets in Velva because it seems that, you know, when the streets are there, it's fairly easy to find where your house is. However, as we've seen in Minot, when the water overtops the roads, overtops the lawns and yards, and then starts creeping up the level of the houses, and when all that remains is rooftops, it really becomes a task of trying to figure out exactly where you're at in the city. And the Blackhawk trip today was actually a little bit slower, thankfully. It was more of a surveillance tour, a sightseeing tour, so to speak, so we could get able to look at some of the different areas for a little longer time. Yesterday, I think there was a more hurried effort simply because there were more pressing issues to take care of versus a sightseeing tour. So a big thanks again. But I want to point something out in this levee right here in the bottom right of your screen. You can see the rush of water and how much it can actually do, what it can do to a levee as far as washout. And those trucks are the ones that are driving on that, packing down those levees. And more work, obviously, to do on that dike system. Now, that dike system is built on top of the original levee system, which is built up to 1555. And those trucks rolling right down the levee systems right at water's edge, as we saw before. Thankfully, no signs of any problems with any of the work that's been going on there. And again, Velva built up to that 1555 mark and currently sitting at 1513.25. So you can see that it is right getting close to where that levee system would have been, but they have a substantial way to go. They are going all the way up to 1518, and that's going to be just in a couple of days on Monday. So round the work continues in Velva. The reason we put this one in is, you know, there's very few people who have been evacuated or stuck in shelters right now, Eric. And that's the reason why when you see almost a parking lot of vehicles in front of the house, you know that that's where a lot of the evacuees are at. And I can honestly say my parents' house looks like a parking lot between my wife and my car, my brother who's staying there, and it's tight quarters, but you know, so many of mine have really stepped up to make sure that those of us who are out of our homes are being well taken care of. So. Yeah. So what do we have for sports? I mean, you know, we've been talking about the fact that we have to reach out to our national teams right now to feel a little bit of normalcy. So were the Twins in action tonight?
Well, they were more or less here to provide some comic relief. After that big, long winning streak, the Twins have found a way to go back to that.
They're settling back into what they were in their norm earlier in the season? That's not what I want to hear.
No, it's not. It's more bad news, I guess, if you're a Twins fan.
Okay, so.
You don't want to follow 8 consecutive wins that saw you score at will and move from the cellar of your division up a spot. But that's exactly what the Twins have done with 3 straight losses. And they continue their series in Milwaukee tonight, hoping to flip that switch back on and again start another winning streak in Game 2 in Milwaukee. Francisco Lariano on the mound for the Twins, and well, up 1-0, no more. Former Twin Carlos Gonzalez gets all of this one 2-run shot, and it's 2-1 on the deep home run to left field. Now, in the same inning, Ryan Braun, RBI single to center field. So that's going to score Ricky Weeks. It gets by Ben Revere in center. Corey Hart comes around to score to make it 4-1. Later in the inning, Casey McGahee, just for the little flip of the bat, that's going to score another run, and it's 5-1. Now in the fifth, Yuneski Betancourt with the deep inside the park home run. It's going to get over Delman Young, but more importantly, look at Young as we're going to see Betancourt run around here and fly. We're going to go back and watch this. Delman Young going into the wall hard, and it stays down for quite some time and can't put any weight on that right leg, and he's going to get taken off in a stretcher. And yeah, you can see it jam right up against the fence right there. He gets taken off, carted off. Right now it's just reported as a right ankle sprain, obviously a pretty bad one. So Milwaukee goes on to win that one 11-1 with the bad third inning for the Twins. Excuse me, 10-1, bad third inning. Let's move to San Francisco, where the AL Central Division leading Indians were in play. There, Matt Cain in the first gets a dribble, Cabrera looking. Now, bottom of the seventh, the only run of the game. Yeah, it's a balk. Tony Sipp called for the balk by Bob Davidson, allowing Miguel Tejada to score with the bases loaded. So it's 1-0, top of the ninth, and there's that balk again. So enter Brian Wilson, looking for his 23rd save on the year, and he's going to give it. Travis Buck flies out to deep center field. Andres Torres makes the catch, and nice little interesting fall there. But San Francisco gets the win, 1-0. Brian Wilson, 23rd save, and they get the win. Detroit gets by Arizona, 6-0. The Chicago White Sox get by Washington, 3-0. Kansas City over the Cubs, 3-2. The Yankees over Colorado, 8-3. In the Battle of L.A., it's the Angels over the Dodgers, 6-1. The Mets get by Texas, 14-5. Oakland over Philadelphia, 4-1. Toronto over St. Louis, 6-3. Tampa Bay over Houston, 7-2. The Pittsburgh over the Red Sox, 6-4. Cincinnati doubles up on Baltimore, 10-5. Atlanta, this one just gone final. They win 10-1 over San Diego. And Florida and Seattle in the seventh inning rather. And Florida is leading that one, 4-2. And some softball today at the 1600 girls fast pitch Lake Superior Classic in Minnesota. The Minot Merchant Lions pick up 3 wins on the day. They get by Duluth Thunder 4-3. The Duluth Aerials 2-1, and the Minnesota Blast 4-0. So they go 3-0 in that tournament. NHL Draft Day 2, Minnesota Wild have a couple of picks. They pick up a couple of local native Minnesotans. Mario Lucia from Wayzata, also the son of Minnesota Golden Gophers coach Don Lucia, who's one of the finalists right now to go to Minnesota, so they don't know if he'll turn pro or not. He's picked up with the 60th pick for the Wild. And Stephen Michalik, a goalie from Eden Prairie, also from Minnesota. A couple of UND recruits get drafted today. One, Rocco Grimaldi by Florida with the 33rd pick. And Dylan Simpson gets picked up by Edmonton with the 92nd pick. Gold Cup final in soccer today. The United States taking on Mexico in this one. USA up 1-0 early, and a nice pass here by Clint Dempsey up ahead to Landon Donovan. He puts it in, and it's 2-0 USA at that point. But Mexico stays strong. They come back, and it's now down just 1. Giovanni De Soto shot a stop, but Andres Guardado puts it in the rebound past Tim Howard to tie the game. Mexico goes on to win that one by a final 4-2. They win the Gold Cup. In tennis, the third round of Wimbledon, Rafael Nadal taking on Gilles Mueller. If we can go to those highlights. First set, tie-break, Nadal with the big serve here. No chance for Mueller. And now a little bit later in the first set, another tie-break. Nadal and Mueller go on the rally. But eventually Nadal is going to have a nice play right here. I think he's going to go behind Mueller and get that one. Nadal wins 7-6, 7-6, 6-0 to advance. Djokovic defeats Bagdatis. Federer defeats Nobanin. They all move on. And on the women's side, Wozniacki gets the win, and Sharapova gets the win.
Yeah,
so those are top
why
5.
don't you just go ahead and take a look at the winners, because there's no chance in heck that I'm ever going to pronounce those properly.
Sharapova is the only one I apologize. Those tennis players
There's
they're
no
good.
hope in heck for me for ever doing that. Well, thank you, Eric, for a little bit of normalcy in our lives. And we do have a little more, well, actually, we have a lot more of our Black Hawk tour that returns us all the way from Velva into Minot, out to Burlington, and back. So if you haven't seen your home, get your DVR ready, and we'll see if we can take a tour over the top, and we'll do that as KX News at 10 continues, and our Flood Fight 2011 resumes around the clock. Welcome back. It is 7 minutes past the hour of 11 o'clock. If we could maybe take a look at the Trent Cam one more time. I just want to kind of show everyone exactly what's going on as the river continues to swirl and flow right through the city of Minot. Earlier today at about 2:30, we had an opportunity once again to go up inside of a Black Hawk helicopter with the North Dakota National Guard and some other of the other national media. And that trip took us all the way down to Velva from Minot, and we returned And you can see as some of the excavators are continuing their work to go after the clay that is laden in the hillsides within the valley. This is just east of Sawyer on the return trip. You can see Highway 52 to the left side of your screen, and all those homes and other areas and kind of the subdivisions and outlying areas that well beyond its banks and infiltrated right into the yards and everywhere else. It seemed they picked their most perfect spots as they dug into these hillsides. Excavators working around the clock, countless numbers of trucks, and it seems that they picked spots that were very close to Sawyer and to Velva and Minot. Just grab a hillside and start digging. Here's we're making our way back into Sawyer and right at the elevator on the other side of the railroad tracks. Again, as I left all of you this morning at 5:45, at 6 o'clock hour, at 5:45, the sirens had sounded indicating a breach in the dike in Sawyer. However, that turned out to be just water running down a road and an issue that was taken care of with another adjustment in a levee. But outside of Sawyer, the fate of so many of us has also befallen so many of them. Now, this is outside of Sawyer, again, outside of the diking system, as some of those houses along County Road 23, a little closer to the Mouse River than what we would even begin to think it possible that these water levels could ever reach here. But in fact, they have, and they have set records well past the recorded history record set back in 1881 at 1558, and we are now currently sitting at 1561.7. Expected to crest sometime in this overnight hour at 1561.8. Highway 52 on the foreground once again, and as we made a quick loop, you could see that something was leaking into the water. It looked like petroleum base at some point. Obviously, when this water comes up and overtakes or tips over, for instance, a gasoline tank or something of that nature, that ends up right into the Mouse River. And as we make our way back, I will once again reiterate that we do have a boil order in Minot right now, and not only in Minot, for anyone who receives their water via the water treatment plant. Earlier today at the press conference, it was told us that this boil order was put in place as water from outside had infiltrated the water treatment plant. And when we talk about what that means is that it's not certain that any of the water was contaminated. The First District Health Unit is investigating that and is going through their different steps of testing it. But until it is confirmed, the boil order is in place, and that means boiling any water that might potentially be ingested at least for a minute. And do not use any of that water on anything that you could potentially ingest. Brushing your teeth, washing dishes, washing your hands. As they put it, the rule of when in doubt, boil first. You can see the KOA campgrounds here at the far end as we are at the edge of the Mouse River Valley away from Highway 52 there. And KOA campgrounds long submerged, Highway 52 somewhere under that vast amount of water. And coming up, in fact, there it is, Highway 52, just long since submerged, and now there are two very large sections of the highway between here at the KOA campgrounds, and then again between Sawyer and Velva. So we make our way towards Minot. This moves right into the East Side Estates addition. You can see all the difference that a few feet of elevation makes. Some of the houses on the very cusp of that hill over by Highway 52 are still dry, while others that are feet below have suffered the fate of the river, and those up on the hill, of course, high and dry. But it never would have been fathomable, I think, for many of us to think the water has gotten this high. And this takes us right into the Apple Grove area, Apple Grove Golf Course. Not even visible. We flew over it earlier and didn't even make even a realization that it was right below me, right there. So it's covered in feet of just disgusting muddy flood water. Magic City Implements dikes still holding. We've seen them work around the clock trying to save their facility. Keller Paving there also still maintaining their facility. And you have to be at a certain angle. You can see out the window that there is somewhat of a reflection off that water, but once you get down and look at it, it's just brown and putrid. Again, right along 27th Avenue, you can see the trailer courts in that area, and Sun Prairie Grain, also their brand new grain bins that were put up recently. And that took us on a big swing onto South Minot and then back. I wanted to get a shot of Perkett School. We'll get another look at that here, but the Jack Hoven Diamonds coming up and the housing developments right over by Jack Hoven. The fields that were pristine and green were almost visible as that water came up yesterday. Now, the infields and the outfields lost to the water. Truly amazing, and then what's even more amazing is that flows right up to Highway 83, not near the congestion. I think as more people made the realization that it was time to stay off the roads, that no travel advised wasn't so much in a sense as that 83 was in danger, but more in fact that it was so congested by people who were hoping to get out maybe from North Hill to South Hill and see what was going on from better vantage points. Teresita Vallejo in the on the left side of your screen there as we make our way towards Burlington. As I talked about, trains have not rolled through here since I believe it was Wednesday, or I think it was Wednesday. My days are so gone as we've done this overnight shift. I was making a joke earlier that I only work daylight hours. I come to work when it's light and I leave when it's light. Unfortunately, that means coming in just after sunrise and then leaving, well, right around sunrise. Green Thumb Nursery, also, we've seen this picture a couple of times on our aerial surveillance, well within the water's reach, and the muddy mouse all over it right now. Over near County Road 17, the Boy Scout Bridge, and that rolls right through this area, even though that road not even recognizable. And again, as we were flying over this the first time, I really didn't even begin to understand where we were now in concept of the river. Okay, Teresita Vallejo is recognizable, Green Thumb Nursery. As we make our way over here, okay, I remember the 65th Street Northwest, their dike system was holding and looking good. They raised their system up enough. Making our way to the west, I kept thinking to myself, we should have gone by the country club by now. I couldn't remember exactly where it was until I got back here. I was filming as much as I could to try to get as many houses as I could, only to make the realization that after we moved past this, we were flying over the fairways of the country club just past this, and I had no idea. As I mentioned before, trying to mark as many areas as I could to get people an idea of the area we're looking at. It is so difficult to get a grasp of even the sense of direction as you're up in the air. This is the Minot Country Club. Those are the fairways. You might be able to see a little piece sticking out, a rooftop of one of the outbuildings. Unfortunately, didn't have the vantage point of trying to get a shot of the clubhouse again, but yesterday we watched yesterday morning on that video as that levee system was breached and gone, and now the fairways not even recognizable as that putrid water is sitting over the top of them. Over at 75th Street Northwest, again, I thought as I was rolling into this area, I thought, wow, Burlington came up a little quick, and no, this wasn't Burlington. In fact, we were still making our way over to Burlington, and you can see Highway 2 and 52, some of that dike work that had been put up to maintain that artery. And then again, you see petroleum slicks coming out of areas where obviously something had spilled in the water as the mouse picked it up, toppled it over, and this is Burlington, Cherry Street. Those levees raised many feet, sandbag, hundreds, and I would say maybe tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of sandbags were thrown together for 72 hours round the clock as they were attempting to try to save Lower Burlington, those baseball fields and all of that area. And we were asked to see if we could actually even get down into the area of Project Road, and that's Peace Lutheran Church, driven by that many times heading down into the area to get film down at Burlington. the project's area, mouse water backing up and, of course, causing that Delac River system to jump up a little bit. This is actually the Delac River that you're looking at. The mouse has risen so high that water is actually backing up and increasing the elevation of the Delac right down at Project Road. Fortunately for them, not quite the elevation, not quite the flows that they saw during that huge spring melting event that took so many of their homes down there. So good news for them. As we swung back around, and this is essentially heading back towards the Mouse River in and of itself, the Johnston home, barely recognizable now, along with some of the neighbors' homes up on the hill there. The Mouse River channel there as it comes to the confluence of the Delac River, and the Mouse River there is the confluence coming up, and right there. As it winds its way back on County Road 19, you can see that all that brown, mucky mess below it within the trees. There is the bridge off County Road 14, or 15 rather, that would typically take you into Burlington. That lost many, many days ago. Now, somebody had asked if they could shower under this boil ban.
Shower, brush teeth, that kind of.
So I guess the question, do you need to shower under a boil, or can you shower under a boil ban? Well, can you potentially ingest water while you're showering? Things like washing your hands, even if you use soap, if that water is contaminated. So that's what they're kind of saying. I think you have to maybe think outside the box a little bit.
About pets. Question about pets. That water. You boil it, let it cool.
Absolutely, absolutely. What's good for us had hopefully be good for them as well. Gene Shem from WGO with a lot of the other national photographers that were up on the Blackhawk flight today. You can see County Road 15 as we were making our way back into the Magic City from our tour that was probably the longest tour to date so far, up and down the Mouse River.
There was a pretty high concentration of media across the house tonight.
You did, Jim, Perry, Carolyn, she helps out quite a bit, Gene Shem,
Galen Ness and
Galen
Mike
Ness.
Heilman.
I think there's at least one of the disc jockeys at WGO.
Yep, Mike.
So.
Yep, a good number of media. And there's that Perkett School. Many people had asked, how is Perkett holding? And so far, so good. We are expecting these river levels to hang around for quite some time. It is expected to go up 1 more inch before it crests and then recede. It is actually expected to stay through 1561 through Tuesday morning and then go to 1559 for roughly 1 full week. Just truly an amazing sight as we were coming into land at our area over by Magic City campus there, which has turned into the helipad right there at the practice field. As you can see, just some of those just rooftops are all that remains. Little Flower School, Little Flower Church, Minot State University, as some of the folks were trying to get one last look at the Ramstead School. Ramstead School, of course, being on the other side. I was on the Blackhawk helicopter on the north side of the view, so the other folks were getting a look at Ramstead. And they wanted one last look at the North Dakota State Fairgrounds. You can see that dike system built high and heavy, wide, and looks to be doing its job to this point. There was a little bit of seepage, is why you see that big blue tarp over the top there, and the State Fair grandstands. Some folks had actually said that they were worried about the fact that they had heard that once again the Broadway levees had breached, that there was water in the streets. Well, we had taken on quite a bit of water on those thunderstorms earlier today, Tom, and that being the water that cannot go through the storm drain, so it has to be pumped to the other side of those levees. Corbett Field. Be a long time until baseball games played at Corbett Field or anyone visits the Minot Roosevelt Zoo.
A couple of nights ago, Corbett was 2 feet underwater. Wasn't that a couple of nights ago? Yeah.
2 feet of 2 feet of water, and that very well could be about 6 feet by the looks of it right there.
This is crazy. I think we were playing baseball there last week.
Mm-hmm.
We had games to play there.
Again, Central Avenue East, and I just wanted a quick zoom down right there. Speaking of Galen Ness, that's his house.
We need to straighten, just to be sure here, I'm looking at Facebook and it says one of the radio stations is telling Surrey residents they do not need to boil the water. So can we confirm this?
That's incorrect. We had 3 different phone calls from that group saying that Surrey should obtain the same standards, thinking that Minot residents should about the water. So,
Okay, so that was from the EOC.
Yeah.
The EOC is saying that Surrey residents should also take on that boil information, or rather that boil order. So when in doubt, I think the best thing you can do, they do have that flood hotline at 858-9366. 858-9366 for some of those questions. And First District Health Unit is going to most likely help us out if, in fact, this does continue for some time. We're hoping to get confirmation on that. And Donovan, as we're wrapping this up, we are coming to the end of our aerial tour today. Catherine was out for an evacuation camp out. You can see the Moose Club diked up and holding strong there. I hope, in fact, that we were able to show you many of your homes today, and that was the whole intent, which is why these aerial surveillance videos go so long. It's not that we are just trying to go quickly through it, but give as many people a chance to see their home and showing what we are able to with the help of the North Dakota National Guard in their Blackhawks. Now, with more than 1,000 people displaced and thousands now without a place to return, it's a tribute to the people of Minot that only a few hundred are in the public shelters. Catherine Ross brings us to a gathering of friends where some are coming to grips with the reality of losing it all to the Mouse River muddy water.
We've been calling Minot's flood fight a tale of 2 cities, whether that be describing the chasm separating the north and south parts of town, or a tragic contrast between the flooded and the dry. South Hill streets are now camper alleys. Bonnie Freed's household has swelled from just herself and her husband to now hosting a much larger party.
5 people, a dog, and a cat.
The Freeds are trying to help their new additions and new neighbors find some distraction today.
I know what it's like because we were in the flood in 1969. We were out of our house for 9 months. I feel for these people.
Despite good intentions, it's hard to find hope and happiness when your heart and home are sinking.
You put up a good front. My heart's not here, and it's almost like, okay, when can we eat? And I want to go home, but there is no home.
We met the Seversons in May after a fast rise in the river left them desperately sandbagging.
May 22nd and 23rd we flooded. So our seepage started April 19th, and a month later we started flooding in the basement and the yard, and then by May 23rd it was totally flooded, 8 feet in the basement and about 4 feet in the yard.
Now Severson says there is no going back. Black mold is taking over, and she's sure this sign of lighter spirits is now immersed.
Our house and everything would have to be demolished. I hate to think of that.
After they originally evacuated, Deanna and her husband moved in with a neighbor who has now also lost her home. Finding shelter isn't the issue. It's a looming feeling of guilt while living in limbo.
I know we're very welcome where we're at. I just feel bad imposing on people. For instance, today with the bad weather, I'm afraid if we would get a hailstorm or something that their vehicles would be hailed out because they couldn't get in their garage because all my stuff is in there.
Carefree smiles are rare among the evacuated and hosts alike. But it's remembering what they have still, not what they've lost, that may keep that slim glimmer of hope from washing away.
Try and remember they're just things, and remember who has the master plan. Just remember he gave us all the material things we had, and he can take them away. We still have all our family members and our friends. That's what life is. Help somebody else and move on.
Because while smiles may be few and far between, selflessness is in no short supply. Catherine Ross, KX News.
And for thousands of people along the Mouse River, the next several days are likely to include watching their homes drown in flood water. This morning, several people were stopping by to get a look at the south side of El Rio Drive and trailer parks located along 27th Street Southeast. I believe we've got the video there. Dwayne McGillis was there learning that his home, which he had just finished paying off, is probably ruined under the waters of the Mouse.
Yeah, this. And what is it? Is it done coming up now, or it's supposed to go up another couple of feet? I want to go home. I know it's impossible, and I couldn't get any answers about how the water was in Holiday, so I'm just out driving around because I'm living with a friend now, and it gets to be uncomfortable at times, you know, and home is not home until, geez, you lose something. I remember when those sirens were going off. My dad was a veteran, and he used to tell me, man, he'd get so quiet, and I felt what he felt, you know, when those war sirens were going off. He was a veteran in World War II in Germany and France, and I felt what he felt.
My folks built this house in 1969 during the flood. They didn't get any water on their property at that time. This time, from what I can see now, we've got a 3-stall garage that's detached from our home on the back of our property, and I would say we probably got about a foot of water in there right now. I guess the rebuilding, we've talked about going in and redoing the house and stuff. It just all depends if this is something that's going to be prevented or if they're going to take any measures, because how many times do you stick $100,000 into a house?
Meanwhile, other neighborhoods in the same area are also swamped. This is the backside of the Souris Court with water halfway up the doors, and this is the 27th Street Southeast running alongside Sunbury grain towards Muse Lumber with water quite high on the homes in the trailer courts east of the streets. Now, when thousands of people were displaced due to the flooding, some of them couldn't take their pets with them, and the Souris Valley Humane Society stepped up, and the Souris Valley Animal Shelter rather stepped up to help. Carla Burbage has their story.
Echo doesn't have a permanent home these days, but he is getting lots of attention and care. Some 500 pets, mostly dogs and cats, were evacuated from the flooded areas of Minot. The Souris Valley Humane Society is using several buildings at the NDSU Extension Center south of town as a temporary shelter for the animals.
I always tell people we'll be here caring for them until the last one goes home. So we'll be here for a while.
Susan says the response during this crisis has been phenomenal. Humane Society USA has sent in a team of people. Pet food and supplies have been donated, like this from PetSmart Charities, and then the many volunteers.
We're all just kind of working together to make this run smoothly.
With this amount of pets to take care of, there has to be a schedule. So while some volunteers are walking the dogs, others are cleaning out cages.
I like ones this size. They give me a workout.
Some of the pets are stressed and need a little extra care, but a number of the volunteers are under a great deal of stress as well. It seems even people who are evacuated themselves have turned out to help these animals. One told us it's therapeutic.
It's something I love, is dogs, and spending some time with them. It'll help me feel like I've done something good.
There's plenty of tension and worry during this terrible flood, but Crystal and hundreds of other pets are well taken care of for as long as this shelter is needed. In Minot, Carla Burbage, KX News.
All right, and a big thanks going out to all of those volunteers and people taking care of our furry friends. You can call the Humane Society, make a donation, or if you're looking to volunteer at the number on your screen, 839-6770. Now, the Broadway Bridge has been an area of contention that we are working so hard to, actually Broadway itself working hard to keep open, and I think, Donovan, if you want to just go ahead and roll that video, you can see is what it looked like in the early morning hours today. You can see that the water just had overtaken much of that valley this morning. You can see that that's just right near the Broadway Bridge and holding back a ridiculous amount of water behind some of those HESCO barriers, and that's looking down Central Avenue there. So that answers a lot of the questions we had last night. Where was the water? What businesses were affected and things like that. That is the BNSF facility out just looking over the river valley, and Many of the crews working overnight, through the night, and continue into the night right now, trying to, I guess, make as much headway as they can to make sure that that vital thoroughfare, I guess they're keeping Minot's North and South Hills connected.
Okay, I have a couple of Facebook things I just want to kind of ask you about, because this is a good one, and maybe you addressed it already, about showering. Now, and you know, when you hit Facebook, they disappear, so I don't have the name, and I apologize, but she said that she contacted somebody that worked at the health department, and if you have large cuts, you know, on your body, then you may not want to take a shower right now. You know, large cuts where the water could get in. And then somebody else asked, can you drink water that comes through the fridge and is filtered? Does that take care of it? And I don't, that's a good question. And that one's from Ashley Kennedy.
Filter in the fridge, my understanding is no. That actually is a filter to take out some of the impurities, but not to take care.
So that's like
it's a
stuff
boil
that's normally
order.
in water.
It's a boil order. For drinking water, you have to boil that water. Okay. It's not a purification process for a little filter in the fridge and things like that.
We continue to get a fair percentage of our phone calls asking this question, and it's on the on the Facebook quite a few times. And I'm going to go to bat for you here, Sean. It's about the Blackhawk rides.
Oh yes, and I was expecting them again.
You don't. People saying, well, how come you never show this? How come you never show that? And it's an understandable question. Everybody wants to see their house, and we understand that. But you need to know that the Blackhawk helicopters, they're extending a courtesy to the media. And they don't tell us anything. I mean, you know, they let you sit on the helicopter, and you have a seat assignment. And you shoot where you can see. And if there's somebody sitting next to you and you're not near the window, maybe you want to see this part of town, but your camera lens won't see it, so you don't shoot it.
And the other part is, too, that we were actually very fortunate just to get a seat on today's ride, as there were actually more city officials and emergency operation officials on board than there was media, because they were touring to get an idea of what the infrastructure looked like, not only in Minot, but for Ward County, for Sawyer, and then out to Velva and back to Burlington. This was a fact-finding mission for them, and we were allowed to go along. So, I mean, that's the point of these, really, is to help city officials learn what's going on in these flood zones. So again, it is literally just a courtesy that is extended to us.
Now, and those, from time to time, those things are moving pretty good too. So I mean, every once in a while it kind of hovers over an area, but it's moving along pretty good. So even if you wanted to get a certain building, it'd be out of the picture in about a second and a half.
Absolutely. These are some of the tough sights to see from what has befallen so many of the homes and houses and property within Minot. Well, that water just rushing by, certainly taking its toll, not only really on, I think, the buildings and homes that are down in the water, but I think on emotions as well. We've been dealing with this now since the levee started to breach on Wednesday, when the evacuation order came on Tuesday. And the waiting, the watching, the wondering, the not knowing really took its toll. And now the vivid images of all that is out there, I think sooner or later, we are going to have to, I think, turn our heads and take a moment and forget the fact that the water is flowing through our town, and attempt to maybe just relive a little of our normal life, even if we are displaced, like so many.
That gets me a little bit. Look how big that sign, that street sign. I mean, not that water in houses doesn't, but whoa.
Yep, lawn chairs floating down the river, and we will try to get that live sky cam back up to you as soon as we can for that work, or for that Broadway cam. Actually, we do have a new river reading level. It is 1561.72. That has just come from the USGS. Xcel Energy crews and many other officials were in and around on boats today trying to take care of some power issues within the grid system. Others were going out to check on city infrastructure areas and take care of issues like in the water treatment plant, where that boil order comes from. And certainly no easy task when you talk about driving around in floodwater. You're talking about having to maneuver around the unknowns, cars that are submerged in the water that are no longer even visible, city street signs that are under, and fire hydrants, lawn equipment, anything that may have been left behind could very easily be floating or sunk below the boat, could damage the prop, could tip over a boat, something like that. So that is why that there is a no boat order anywhere on the Mouse River. And to that point, there were is it three?
Two. Sorry, two.
There were 2 adult males that were arrested sometime today, in the early morning hours actually today at 2:10.
No, this afternoon.
Oh, this is PM.
Sorry,
okay.
yeah.
They were arrested this afternoon after being seen at just after that 12 o'clock hour for boating in to their homes or into a house. I guess we don't know if it was directly in their homes. It was our understanding it was.
Yeah, what I called on it because I heard it and couldn't believe it, and called in that clarification. What they were actually doing was going back to their house to try and retrieve some more items that they wanted with them, and you can't do that.
Absolutely not. The evacuation zones are strictly forbidden to be down into without escorts, and that certainly means going out on a boat to try to work your way down to a house or anything else like that. It is the safety is the issue, and I believe if you are caught, you could be given one of those movement orders, which comes with a $300 fine and up to 30 days in jail. So that means stay out. There's no two ways around it.
Yeah, it's $300. It's like between $300 and $500 fine. It's depending upon what you're doing and things like that, and it's up to 30 days in jail. So obviously you don't want to be out there for that reason, but you shouldn't want to be out there to begin with, because it's hard enough for those crews. Like we saw Excel out there trying to do some stuff. It's hard enough for them. And I remember a day or two ago, one of the fan boat operators said, I couldn't see, I bumped off a couple of cars that were still there.
Mm-hmm.
So
it is
think how hard it is for them.
Absolutely. What is going on with the radar, Tom? Do we have any issues?
Nothing in the area right now. Everything is off to the east. Most of the counties are under the severe thunderstorm watch that's been allowed to expire, at least in our viewing area. So for the rest of the night, no storms.
All right, that sounds good. And what are we looking at, I guess, for kind of a final look at our forecast, so to speak? Maybe give us an idea of the next.
Well, for tomorrow, I think we're going to have a generally quiet day. I think there'll be thunderstorms again tomorrow, but right now it looks like it'll be the southern half of the state. So we should have some decent weather. Next week will probably warm up a little bit. I think we get a few days of drying out next week.
Temperatures,
the rain.
Temperatures, 90s, 100s, things like that.
It won't be that warm. Yeah, it won't be that warm though. But yeah, we might get into the 80s for a day or two.
Okay.
Yeah, but when I say drying out, I'm talking about rain. I'm not trying to make a joke or anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay? Sounds good. And sports on hold, kind of on this indefinite area until we can kind of get things figured out, whether or not we can even use Broadway in the near future, because until we can connect North and South Hill on a, I guess, fluid basis, a lot of our lives are simply on hold for that respect.
Yeah, the best news I heard today, sports related, was that the softball team was in Minnesota playing, and at least, the best thing I could think of was they're away from it. They have a time to relax, and that also brings me the McQuaid tournament in Bismarck was this weekend, and
that's right, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I forgot about that, didn't you? It's the biggest tournament in the country almost, and
biggest softball tournament in the country. I play it every year. And it was around that June 2nd or 3rd that they announced that they were going to have to downsize it because of the loss of fields, because of flooding down at Bismarck. Yep. So they cut all the rec teams down there simply because that's the largest part of the tournament, and they didn't have the fields to be able to even do that.
Which was disappointing in itself, but I heard a couple of people today, and I had a couple of friends playing it, and the best thing I heard from them was it was such a relaxing way to get away from it all. Just take your mind off for a little bit, and hopefully that's what sports can bring for the coming weeks.
still going on tomorrow.
Exactly.
Maybe drive down to Bismarck and watch some teams play, by all means. So it's 42 minutes past the hour, 11 o'clock. I guess we can call that KX News at 10.
By the way,
very long and
I'm going to interrupt.
Edition. Okay.
You know how it seems like there's a state law that during the McQuaid, there's always thunderstorms? Because, I mean, people sleep in tents and things like that.
And we managed to renew that law again this year.
Yeah, well, it looks like Bismarck could get some storms tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay.
Yes.
Well, it is McQuaid's. I mean, that's...
Or Mandan, yes.
All right, sounds good. Well, thanks, Tom, and thanks so much, Eric. With this, I guess we'll wrap KX News at 10, and we'll roll right back into our continual coverage of Flood Fight 2011 as we go round the clock right here on KX News. We'll be right back. And welcome back. It is 45 minutes past the hour of 11 o'clock on this Saturday, June 25th, a day that continues to feel as though it never started and never ended, if that makes any sense whatsoever. It has been a continual battle for so many, I guess, emotionally, physically, and in every other way in our lives. As we saw what the inevitable became so obvious to us early this week when the evacuation orders went out, and now it has wholly sunk in to so many of us that the reality and the magnitude of what has become of our lives as the Mouse River flooded over its banks well past a record set back in 1881 and is marching right towards its crest of 1561.8. Right now we are sitting at the 1561.72. Taking a look at, I guess, the previous reading, it was 1558 all the way back in that year in January, recorded in 1881. And really an amazing feat in a horrific way that what Mother Nature is capable of and what the river is doing right now to so many. Now, the first Saturday of summer, well, may be remembered for some good news. The smack dab in the middle of the worst event in the city Minot has ever experienced. Perry Olson was there at the news conference today as maybe a little hope had appeared, and another headline from today's press conference that may have you turning your stovetop on.
The Mouse River at Minot is about to crest. Mayor Kurt Zimbelman announced the long-awaited good news at the press conference on Saturday. 1561.8 is now the projected level the river should reach this weekend. That's about 2 feet less than what was predicted before. But while that's good news, the bad news is it will still be a long, long time before residents who were jolted from their homes can return to see what the water has done. The river should stay above record flood stage for at least another week. The other big headline from today's press conference, residents of Minot, Burlington, and the Air Force Base must now boil tap water before using it. The city is unsure if the water supply has been contaminated, but as a precaution is recommending this step. Untreated water has infiltrated the system, causing the concern. First District Health Unit officials stress that you should not use tap water to wash dishes, brush your teeth, wash and prepare food and formula, or make ice. The duration of this order will stretch to at least 24 hours, maybe more, as officials wait for test results to indicate whether or not the city's water supply was indeed compromised. In Minot, Perry Olson, KX News.
Emergency officials in Minot that we contacted have said that Surrey has been added to that list of towns of that boil order, and for that boil order, meaning it is not to be used for anything that would potentially ingest, meaning brushing your teeth, washing dishes, washing your hands, and things like that. However, they said you are able to shower as long as you don't have any large open wounds or cuts of things like that. The First District Health Unit is testing that water, and as soon as those tests are complete and it's deemed if that water is safe, that boil order will then be lifted, but not until that time. Again, we are expected to stay above that crest at 1561 through Tuesday morning, so we are already looking at an extended stay with these high water flows, and then it will decrease, drop down to 1559 for a possible week. As we look out over on some of our streaming cams that are pointing out over the Mouse River right now from North Hill, or rather South Hill, looking north, if we have any of those up, Donovan, we could take a look and kind of see what is out and about there. These are our night cams, security cams from Evil Incorporated that are helping us out on these overnight hours. sometimes often a difficult picture to get in an area where blackness has enveloped the entire area. As far as the power, there's very little lights on, with the exception of street lights and some other areas. So as we came into today, the issue of Sawyer really was at the forefront of conversation, because when it came time to just about wrap up this morning at 5:45, we received confirmation that the sirens had been sounding in Burlington, or not Burlington, but rather Sawyer. They had been sounding in Sawyer, and everyone was being told to get out of the valley if they were in those in below that area. There was already an evacuation zone where they were already out of, but if they were in the recommended areas, they were being told to get out of that area and meet up at the softball complex. However, as some time elapsed and officials looked into it, they found out that water was just running over the road, and that a levee needed to be built up a little more in that section, and then the crews went back to work. Donovan, maybe we could even bring up that Black Hawk Flood Sawyer video right there, and we kind of give everybody an idea of what we're talking about. Being that Black Hawk tour that took off, and this is where we pick it up at that county road just west of Sawyer. Today, the home that had been built up on a mound of dirt that looked a little out of place seems to be, and could very well possibly keep most of that house dry. The lower floors probably not quite as lucky, as groundwater has certainly been infiltrating so many of the homes, even diked up in Minot. Those water seepage as those elevations climb, certainly a rough issue to deal with. So we're looking at the Muddy Mouse water, and it just really is such a putrid look at what floodwater does and looks like from 500 feet in the air, and rooftops are all that remain. It was estimated by some from the officials, not in the EOC, but I think some of the national media had reported that there was an estimated maybe 1,000 houses or more that had water all the way up to the ceiling, and possibly 100 or more that were under feet of water. Well, earlier this week we did get that good news that our crests had been dropping after days where just that news of every new day brought worse and worse news, where those river levels were increasing, the flows were increasing, more water was coming out of Canada. Lake Darling was filling up very quickly. That we were going to reach that 1564.6 mark, I believe, or 0.5 mark, 1564.4, and that was the crest prediction that came out early in this week. And as the days went by, it was tapered off a little bit, as we found that the Mouse River seems to be finding its way faster through the area as that water had been rising. As you can see here at Sawyer, they're actually excavating right through the road to cut another channel to help some of that water flow through and to alleviate some of that stress off County Road 23 bridge that goes north out of Sawyer. But some more good news received today that we are less than an inch away from our predicted crest on the Mouse River, and hopefully that is the end of our rough news as far as water, rising water is concerned for those of us in Minot. But many in Burlington and Sawyer and Velva, especially, still, I guess, battling and still in days of fight ahead of them. In Sawyer, they are currently right now continuing to build those levee systems up as that Mouse is expected to climb. They've already reached that major flood stage at 28.75 feet, so they're just nearly at the 29-foot mark. Nearly at 29, and they are ready to head all the way to about 30.6. So nearly at 29, heading to 30.6. So they have about another foot to go on their levees to get ready.
We have somebody that just came down, and I don't want to give away too much information yet till I find out what she's comfortable with me saying. But we have a lot of video that nobody's seen, and I'm going to use a phrase you did last night: get your DVRs ready.
Get your DVRs ready. Okay.
Lots of video.
So we've got a bunch of video that's coming in right now?
Yeah, we're loading it onto the computer, we're putting it in a folder. There are a bunch of short clips, you know, 5 or maybe 10 seconds long a piece type of thing.
Okay.
But you can see...
Is this from our HD cameras, or is this stuff that has been brought in from outside
Somebody's
sources?
brought in. I've seen a couple of clips, and it's pretty good stuff.
Okay, good.
I mean, heartbreaking, but you know what I mean.
Yep, absolutely. And for so many of us, I think it's the idea of just getting out some idea, some finalization, so we can get, I guess, some closure.
Well, let's put it this way: there are people that have more access. Okay.
Well, there are always people who know people who know people, and that's actually how I ended up on the Blackhawk today. KX was initially not included on that list because, well, National Guard. I mean, everybody has their operating procedures. Here's how it works, and this is how it goes. Unfortunately, we were allowed on because of our 24-hour coverage and what it means to have for the community to be able to see these images and things like that. So the Adjutant General actually made the call to allow us on and to give us access to the Black Hawk helicopter so that we could bring you 45 minutes of uncut video so we could give everybody an opportunity to not only look at things like Ramstead Middle School, Perkett Elementary, Monument State University, the Broadway Bridge, the dike down University that connects with Broadway, but even a chance to view their homes. I think that has meant a lot to folks to be able to maybe reach out and see whether it's just their rooftop that's left, maybe there's 4 to 5 feet left on the main floor.
Let's put it this way: it might be some of the same buildings. We'll call it a different vantage point.
Different vantage point. Yeah. Good enough for me. All right, it is 4 minutes to the top of the hour of 11 o'clock. If we can, Tom, I know we probably should take a break here in just a moment and load up some new information here.
Yeah, it's going to give me a chance, and I just don't want to say anything to get anybody in trouble. Or so I'm getting information. It's being handwritten right now, so we'll have that in just a few minutes.
Well, before we do that, I just want to touch on a few things. Ward County and Burleigh County were approved for individual disaster assistance through FEMA. Some very good news that came down the line late yesterday afternoon and into the evening. And right now the sign-up has actually begun. This ends at midnight tonight, so if you're going to sign up, I would strongly suggest maybe waiting until tomorrow or Monday. This is a 20-minute to a half-hour process to get your name, get your process into the FEMA system, and you have to call this number, FEMA, to get registered, not the 858 number. Thank you for taking that down. The 858 number is just to call the flood hotline for information now, not to report damage, but you need to call the FEMA number, and that is 1-800-621-FEMA, 1-800-621-FEMA. This gets you into their database. This gets the process rolling. And as we were trying to explain earlier, you would need a significant amount of information. This is why it takes a little bit longer to get this process completed. Telephone number and address of where you're staying, but more importantly, the address of your home, apartment, or business, and things like that, to where that damage is being done even at this hour. And then I think a general list of damages, and that might be a difficult thing even at this time for many of us who aren't exactly sure what really has befallen on our houses. How much water is flowing through the main floor? Has it reached the second floor? Has it compromised any of the foundation? What's going on, basically? And along with that, we're talking about garages, outbuildings, everything else. So just a general list of damages might be in order as you go in and get into that database. And then, of course, the bank account numbers. So if you're looking at direct deposit, that money might be able to, if approved, be directly deposited faster. And as we put it earlier during press conferences, during our live interviews, this isn't the money that is going to, in a sense, cover your losses. This isn't going to be the money that replaces everything that we have lost during our flood. However, this is going to be a little bit of a leg up to help get things rolling in our lives, I think, and maybe help bridge the gap if we need some money in the meantime for rent and food and things like this, as many of our are out of our houses and things of that nature. So I mean, this isn't the one that makes us whole, but it is at least something that at least gets us standing in the right direction. And there are certain criteria depending on income and things like that, and the FEMA folks will walk you all through that. And again, that 1-800 number is 1-800-621-FEMA, or you can go to disasterassistance.gov. That ends in 4 seconds to sign up tonight. So please just wait until tomorrow or Monday or early next week, and we'll get as many people signed up for that who are down in the valleys of Burlington and in Minot and Sawyer and hopefully Velva, if in fact it is needed. But right now Velva is holding their own, so at this point that's not an issue. But this is for Ward County, and when I say Sawyer or Surrey, or not Surrey, Sawyer, I apologize. When I say Sawyer, those are for the people that are outside of that dike system. So,
and now if I could make a request, because we have a lot of people obviously watching here and around the world, and the call came in a couple of minutes ago, and how long do you boil the water? And you know what? I tried finding that out on the internet, and if I look at 7 sites, I got 7 answers. And so what I would like to ask is if somebody that works at the First District Health Unit or a doctor, nurse, call the station, not somebody that knows somebody that works there, not somebody whose next door neighbor works there. We would like to talk with you. I'm going to step off the air. I'd like to talk with somebody that works at either First District, Trinity, one of the doctor's offices in town. We have people watching around the state too. So, but I want an authority, not a friend of an authority.
Some places will actually say 7 minutes, some will say 3 minutes. We actually had something from the press conference that said at least a minute, at least 1 minute. Yeah, at a full boil. That isn't when the water starts to move, but at a full boil, that is at least 1 minute.
Yeah, and what I saw on the internet when I was looking, one thing said as soon as it starts boiling, it kills the microorganisms. So once it boils, you're done. Another says it needs to be 30 minutes. Another is 7. And so I'm going to leave right now. I want to talk with somebody, First District Health Unit, or a doctor or a nurse at 852-2104, 852-2104. So I'm going to step off here, all right?
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Tom. I tell you, it is just after midnight, after the rolling hour into Sunday morning, 1 minute past the hour of 12 o'clock. We're going to take a very short break. We're going to get a little more information, probably some new video for you lined up as well, and we will be back as our round-the-clock coverage of Flood Fight 2011 continues right here on KX News. Good morning. It is 4 minutes past the hour of 12 o'clock as our round-the-clock coverage continues on KX News on Flood Fight 2011. Sean Sipman with you, along with meteorologist Tom Schrader, Donovan Bachmeyer behind the controls, Eric Manlove, and Catherine Ross, so many others that are along with us on these overnight hours, continuing to bring us new information, new video, and new sites, and most likely some heartbreaking sites at that. Some of the questions that we had talked about, or some of the concerns that we had talked about as this boil order went into effect today, is that there are also a number of other towns and areas that are affected by this boil order. Meteorologist Tom Schrader said he was going to get some information here about this boil order. So, Tom, you went out, you asked, and we found.
I asked, and that's what's great about this, whether it be Facebook or just people watching in town. Everybody's coming to everybody else's help. Talked with Melissa from the First District Health Unit, and as far as they're concerned, once you get it to a rolling boil, I think you said that earlier, that's the key, a rolling boil, it's going 1 full minute.
1 full minute. All right.
Makes it a lot easier.
That is all the way from the First District Health Unit.
District Health Unit. Yep.
All right. So thank you so much for clarifying that. Now, another clarification when we talk about towns, people, because this can sometimes be, let's be honest, a very unpleasant aspect of dealing when you're talking about washing dishes, washing your hands, anything that might touch food, any of it. Here is the information from the North Prairie Rural Water District. It was asking that they put this boil order out, that they let all the North Prairie Rural Water District that obtains their water from the city of Minot. Now, that includes users west of Minot and north of Highway 52. That does include Trestle Valley. Now, that's also all users north of Minot, and users between Minot and Surrey north of Highway 52, including Meadowbrook and Chaparral. And we've also again confirmed that Surrey is on that same boil order. I'm understanding that we have returned our live camera to the top of our tower in downtown Minot, and we can actually see what looks like a meeting of the haulers over on University here, and that is certainly An interesting sight as we peer across the Mouse River in Minot as that dike work continues at this hour. So again, that boil order in effect, as a user, as somebody has indicated that you can take a shower in it, but obviously do not get that water into your mouth. And anyway, here I was trying to read a note as Catherine came in to me, and there was a couple on Facebook. I think we would need Tyler to call me if, in fact, that's what we're going to do. Why don't you see if you want to call the station, Tyler, 852-2104. He's looking at some maybe...
520-5482.
What's that?
420-5482, right to the newsroom.
That comes right to the newsroom. So that's 420-5482, Tyler. Talk with Catherine Ross, and I may pick up the phone, and we'll see how serious you are about bringing some positivity here. So we'll let the rest of the viewers in on this in just a moment. I wanted to say thank you to so many people out in eastern North Dakota. One of the other things, Tom, that really has come to my attention here, that there are a good number of people in the Red River Valley, down in Bismarck, who are dealing with their own flood fight right now in Burleigh and Morton counties and all around the state. Let's be honest, there aren't too many places that aren't untouched by flood water this year. There are fundraisers being put together in Fargo and in Grand Forks and other communities that are already on top of the ball, that are trying to raise some money to help Minot get back on its feet. Looking at helping the Red Cross. We're going to be looking at a very substantial time out of our homes, and there are those who don't have places to go, people to stay with, and they are in the shelters. And the Red Cross has been very, very good and gracious with the volunteers and things like that. But let's be honest, this is going to be a long haul, and for people inside one of the shelters, I'm not saying it's not home, because it isn't home, but if that is the place that you're going to be for quite a while, I know that a lot of these towns and people that are putting these fundraisers together, it's really above and beyond.
I had somebody ask me today about the Red Cross, and they do tremendous work here. And the question was, if there are only 200 people or so, whatever the number is, in shelters, and let's say with Josh Duhamel and Ryan Seacrest and everybody tweeting saying send the money to the Minot Red Cross, are they going to disperse that money? I mean, if there are only 200 people in shelter, that's not how it works.
Well,
and I asked David Wright, our general manager, about this, and he said absolutely the Red Cross is not just going to sit on that money and make a big bank account. They're going to do what it takes to help people here.
Absolutely. One of the other questions that somebody had written in a little while ago, and I guess I kind of pondered this issue for myself as it became towards the end of the month to pay bills. Things like the cable bill, the water bill, the electricity bill, the natural gas bill, so many things that we need to operate our households, internet, and phone bills. That's a very good question.
Because if you're not using them,
absolutely.
You know.
And somebody mentioned to me, well, you're going to be out of your house most likely until, at least late July. At least late July, and living in your home probably won't happen until, let's be honest, August or September. That's more of a reality for me, not being able to even live in my house until September. So do we cancel our cable bill and all of that other stuff? And are there going to be charges to get everything rehooked up? Well, we were able to make one phone call personally today as I was running around frantically trying to get my Black Hawk helicopter stuff put together. But my wife was gracious enough to call Mid-Continent Cable and try to get an answer to that. And actually, they had suspended our billing. And we're actually going through the process right now of setting up, and this was just as being told to us as users, is that they have suspended the billing, meaning they are not going to charge us.
For the people that have been displaced.
Well, absolutely. Right. Well, for the people who are out of our homes.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Houses are flooded.
Yeah. Right.
And then, according to the spokesperson that we talked to, and again, this is personal matter, not as an official person from the media, but they said that they will come back and do the re-hookups and they won't charge that reinstallation fee. Say if you disconnect your service, move, and get a hookup again, almost every service charges that hookup fee. So at least I got that comment from Mid-Continent Cable today. So I think what we're going to have to do.
That's good. I mean, that's a nice thing that corporate
actually gave me a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling on a very, let's be honest, emotional day as I got off that Black Hawk helicopter again. It's kind of been, every day I go up, it's kind of been that sucker punch, seeing all that's down below me and knowing what lies ahead. But kind of gave me a good feeling from Mid-Continent. And over the next few days, I think what we will do is reach out as well to, I think, all of the utility companies and find out kind of what the game plan is. This is such an uncharted area for some of us when we talk about being out of our homes that long, and things like the water bill, the natural gas for MDU, and Xcel Energy, electricity. I don't know. I turned my breaker off. my panel box was actually pulled. I just happened to be very good friends with an electrician. Yeah, I'll just put it that way. So, we pulled a lot of our utilities out of the basements. The furnaces were yanked out and things like that. But what do we do about these bills in the meantime? Do we continue to pay them? Do we call up and ask to cancel our service? And then some companies, may choose to just waive those reinstallation fees like that. I think that's something that we're going to have a conversation from some of the hires up. And Catherine has come sprinting into the studio once again with a very big smile.
You have a call on 453. It's Tyler Schnapsey.
Tyler, and I'm going to scroll down. Can you help me find this post again? I hit refresh, Catherine, and I apologize. Where was this at?
It was further down. He's waiting for you on 453. Maybe you want to visit a little bit.
453. I've got to take off my earpiece here.
Sure.
It might help if I hit the right thing here. My brain is not working. I apologize.
Hi, this is Sean with KX News. Who am I speaking with?
This is Tyler Schnapsey.
Tyler, where are you at? What are you doing? Are you one of the displaced, or kind of what's going on this early morning hour of 12:14?
Well, yeah, we are very much displaced. We actually, we're sitting here at my Aunt Linda's house here up on top of South Broadway over here close to the mall. And we live down in Holiday Village, and we've been here. We were actually here the first time when we got evacuated, and now we're back here again. And my aunt and uncle have been so gracious enough to let us stay with them as long as this whole tragedy is going on right now.
Well, our thoughts and prayers are going out with you and all your family, and very much appreciative. Your aunt and uncle and all that helping you out. So, I guess I have to ask. You came onto Facebook and you said, hey, if we're looking for a little positivity in kind of an ugly ordeal, that you would like to do something special and maybe provide a little bit of uplifting light in tonight's little ordeal, as we saw in the Black Hawk. Not the most pleasant of pictures, but you're looking at reaching out in a special way and providing a little positive emotion here. So what's your thoughts, Tyler?
Well, this whole ordeal has really put a whole new light on everything. I've been with my girlfriend, Keisha, now. We've been together for 7 years, and we've had a lot of rockiness along the way. And we were actually married for almost 2 years, and we ended up getting a divorce, which wasn't the best thing that ever happened. But within the last year here, we both have turned some good corners here, and we've gone back together, just like the situation with the flooding. There's been a lot of negative energy going on and a lot of things going on, but everything can be repaired. And as the people in Minot have displaying every day that, some positivity and keeping an uplifted spirit and just doing whatever they can to try and turn this whole thing into something positive and see some light at the end of the tunnel, such as what Keisha and I have been doing. So I would like to just basically say over KXMT here and over everybody who's witnessing in Minot, but Keisha, Nicole, Eaton, I love you so much, and I'm asking you right now in front of all these people and viewers, will you please marry me?
I'm guessing the woo is a good reaction.
I'm actually over here in the other room right now, and I kind of let her sit by herself here, but we'll actually go into the other room here, and we'll see what she actually had to say and get the surprise reaction. What do you say, honey? What's that?
TV's a little loud. You may want to turn down the TV a little bit.
Yes. Say it louder.
Yes. Yes, okay.
He said yes.
Well, thank you, Tyler. Congratulations, Tyler and Keisha. And
thank you very much.
Providing so much positivity. Catherine is asking you to stay on the line here. I'm going to put you on hold. She wants to chat with you for a little bit. But
all right.
Okay. That's right. We do have an audience that is numbering into the, from our understanding, hundreds of thousands around the world. So, congratulations, Tyler and Keisha, providing, I guess, not an end to a home, but a new beginning together. So, stay on the line. I'm going to put you on hold here, and Catherine's going to chat with you for just a moment. So,
all right.
Congratulations
And, hey,
again.
thank you guys so much. And I just wanted to say to anybody out there who is watching this, I'm very busy with my job and everything, but I have all day off tomorrow. So if there is any assistance that anybody does need in the Minot, Burlington, Sawyer area with anything, please hit me on Facebook with a message, and I'd be more than happy to lend whatever services I can to anybody out there.
All right. We'll be checking that on Facebook. Thanks again, Tyler.
Thank you.
All right. We'll put you on hold. That is Tyler, who has now just regained a fiance here, live on TV.
On our Facebook page, and it's facebook.com/KXNEWS Minot. If you're watching streaming or whatever, send them a note. Say congratulations. And you know what? The whole page filled up. By the time I sit down, the whole page filled up.
Oh, very nice. Well, thank you so much, Tyler, for providing a little bit of uplifting moments here as we work our way into the early morning hours. As we were talking a little bit earlier with the issue of billing, I know there's a great many folks who are watching us out in the Red River Valley. You can certainly go to our Facebook at facebook.com/KXNEWS Minot, and you may be able to provide a little bit of insight for some of us who are actually going through this for the first time ever. I know some of the folks out in our listening area outside in the subdivisions have dealt with floodwaters in 2009 and have rebuilt since that time, but we are actually talking about a very extended stay out of our homes, and something that could last well into the fall, believe it or not. And we literally are just kind of at the cusp of this. We're looking at Broadway right now on our, I guess we have to call it the Bobcam now, because we have traded hands on the Bobcam. I'm not sure if those may need a re-white balance. The lights that they've put up have really put a kind of a blue hue over into everything. So maybe you might have to snap that white balance back on there a little bit better, or check the filters or something like that. But I know those halogen lights that they like to use, they put out a lot of light, but man, do our HD cameras
They're not
hate
fans
them.
of that.
No.
Not when they're looking at them. I want to point out, I mentioned about getting the DVRs. We're just a few minutes away. What we've done in the background, John and Eric are putting them in a format that it's labeled a little bit.
Okay.
And when you get to the end, well, it's got me a little bit. We'll save that. Get your DVRs ready. If you have one.
DVRs ready. Okay. Sounds good. Why don't we go ahead, Tom, if you want to load up some river levels.
Oh, sure, I can do that.
I want to go through that quickly here.
Now,
again.
we should be getting a new number within the next 2 minutes for Minot, so we'll start back here at the beginning, and I'll kind of watch. And you know what? I'm going to load it here. You have the clicker? Why don't you take the clicker?
No, I think you took the clicker from
so
me.
you take the
during
clicker,
weather. Okay.
and I will look. It may update while you're talking. It may not, but this is about the time of the hour that it comes in. So let me load it here for you. And now I'm going to look at the river site myself, the gauge, and see if new data is coming in.
Okay, that sounds good. And actually, I'm seeing the same number on from before. That
is that the new same hour?
1561.72.
That's new.
That was the one that came in at 2300 hours, so we're still waiting on that new number here. But I just want to walk through that Sherwood gauge simply because this is the important aspect that tells us that inflows to Lake Darling are dropping. That Sherwood reading is at 2641. That forecast has long since passed. Thankfully, that level is now dropping off, but still, believe it or not, well above that highest peak that was breached all the way back in 1904. The Fox Home, this is one that I think we'll be watching here over the next 24 to 48 hours as a good amount of rainfall has once again happened up in the Des Lac River Basin up by Kenmare today. Reports of anywhere from 1 inch to 2 inches, I believe, Tom, up near Kenmare.
Oh, yes.
And that will flow right into the Des Lac River, heading right for the Mouse. That level is dropping at 1150. Again, that certainly has always been the wild card in any river fight when we talk about dealing with the Mouse River, because that flow from the Des Lacs is such an untamed river flow. So Lake Darling Dam at 1601, just a half foot away from that peak of being full. The outflows right now are at 24,000 feet expected, 24,000 cubic feet per second expected to stay that way for some time. That spillway top again only a half foot away. So,
and we have a new number. It may be there on your computer next. We'll see.
All right, we're walking our way down to the Burlington reading at the Des Lac River. That number again going up only because of the backup water from the Mouse River. The elevated level of the Mouse is pushing back up into the Des Lac, pushing that reading higher at Burlington at 2656. We have an all-time record on the Mouse, and that is actually pushing the all-time record on the Des Lac even higher as well. East of Foxhome, 2228 forecasted. Again, that was supposed to be achieved yesterday. I'm not sure if we ever did quite reach that number, but certainly only a couple of inches regarding that. Right down northwest of Minot, we are seeing a drop on the Mouse River.
That's the new number.
That's the new number. So what we are seeing and understanding is that we have crested if in fact we get a couple of more numbers that tell the same story.
Right. And the rain that fell tonight, there's the possibility that it may go back up a little bit. They're running the numbers, but 1/10 to 2/10 of a foot. The rain that fell up at Kenmare you're talking about, it's going to take a little while to get here. So it's not a huge issue at this point, but you know, Sean, maybe we have crested. Maybe
let's hope.
I'm not convinced until I see it a few more times, and that water that we had fall today works its way through the system. But maybe we've hit that point.
Well, with the Darling outflows now dropping from that 25 to 24,000 cubic feet, that certainly could very well be the possibility, as long as that rainfall event doesn't really factor into the equation too heavily. 24-27 at the Broadway Bridge, and then the newest, highest ever recorded again would have been the last reading that we had at 1561.72. That is now at 0.70. When we take a look at, I'm trying to hit my computer trying to get this advanced. That's not going to work. At Logan, it's sitting at 4084. That number is expected to continue to rise for a little while longer. Expected to crest sometime today at 4190. And in Sawyer, that number at 2875, heading for that forecasted crest at 30.6. That is on Monday, now that it is Sunday. I've got to keep my days straight in my head. Velva at 1513.25, heading for that crest on the 26th at 1518.8. Working our way up towards town or back up towards Canada. The high right now is at 1505, heading for that forecasted another 4 feet expected by June 30th at 61.5. Bantry at 1499, and in West Hope, the river reading there at 1987 forecasted to hit 20.8. So that will go up just about another foot by July 2nd.
You know, I just want to show you something, a little human interest thing that it's the group that's called TV News Check, and it's a trade magazine for general managers at TV stations. And Jim talked about this last night, but I'm going to see if we can get it to do a follow-up. I'll just give you the basic synopsis here, and it says, and it shows our Facebook page, and it says, if you're a TV station in a town of 40,000 people, you'd expect to